just get right into it.
Hello and welcome to the BonkTable podcast. I'm Mass, this is my co-host Mike.
Hello.
There he is today. We're going to be talking about Supremacies today and all about that. We got some PB news. What is the new 2,000 point armies that are available on the Parabellum store? And our rule of the week is unyielding. So Mike and I were starting to talk about the 2,000 point armies on the store that are available for pre-order, and we realized that we're going to start talking about it, and we hadn't hit record on the podcast yet, so we're just going to go straight into it.
Yeah.
Mike, go.
So it's PB news, I guess, to start with. So there's a bunch of stuff that's come up for pre-order on the website that I'm seeing here, which I actually just found out about because we were looking at the army boxes, which is what we were intending to talk about, but I guess we're just going to quickly whip through a bunch of stuff here. So a few things that weren't on the store before that are now available are the Bearsarks and Ulf Hedunar dual kit for the
those Nordy boys?
Nords, yeah, which are some interesting new options for them. The Thane officer unit is coming out, which I am really excited for just because it was always something that I would build into my units, and this guy looks like the the elite version of a Huskarl when he's like 1.5 times the size, and he has like an extra life bar on top of the normal size one, and he drops slightly better loot. So
instead of grays, he drops greens.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty into that. I'll probably grab that. I like the officer models and the retinue models. I think, I don't know, I've seen people grouse about them online. I think that's crazy. I think having the models available as an option is cool. For the most part, the molds have been very good. So this one,
they look really good. I recently played our local Spires player who had like the Ward Perceptor and the Assault Perceptor, and they looked really cool. I'm just kind of lazy about it, where I don't care enough to get the officer models to be frank about it. Usually it's like, oh, I'm running Steel Legion with Manor and a Drill Master. He's on the command stand, like whatever. Like if people really want, like, oh, you gotta have the officer, like maybe I'll go out of the way and I'll like take a 40k mini and slap some PB bits on it and just be like, it's done. Just cover it in shields.
Yeah, like I would never hold somebody else to it, but like I think they're fun to have. I like them. I like the Scald for the Huskarls because he's with the bagpipes, and I just whenever he's in the stand, I imagine him playing the opening from AC/DC's Thunderstruck, but on bagpipes, and that really that honestly enhances the experience a lot for me. So I'm glad to have it. I wouldn't have imagined the Scald having bagpipes if they hadn't shown that to me. So,
to me, Scald is just like a Nordic bard, and he's a storyteller. So, if he has
I don't know anything about these things. I was so surprised when the Golter Beast Pack was a pig, but apparently that just means pig.
Oh, does it actually translate literally to pig?
Something like that, or hog, I guess, more accurately. But I don't know. I guess if you learn things and you know things, which is alien to me personally, but
when's the last? I
don't know. Maybe a listener might get some mileage out of that concept. Not for me, but big world out there.
Big world. What else is out here for pre-order? We got the Founders exclusive St. George and the Dragon, looking baller. I think that guy comes out next week. Last time I heard, he comes out in August at some point. So
yeah, the Thunder Riders should be coming out at the end of this week. They're on pre-order right now, but I think August 25th was the date.
Okay, hopefully
For some reason, that's the date I have in my head.
Oh, maybe it is the date. Well, anyway, should be coming out near the end of August. Same with this guy. Then we got, the Scion of Conquest on the Drum Beast, the Chieftain Tauntador Rider, the Drum Beast, and the Tauntador.
Yeah, so the Girl Scion
Yeah.
which is sick. The way they photograph the Tontor Rider Chieftain, he looks like he's
flying, or
or bungee jumping, or
dude's
like it's
what the heck?
it's fine. Like, I guess they want to show you how it's actually going to be positioned on the model, but like it doesn't. I don't know.
It's just weird. It's like he's jumping off of it, and
it's a disorienting photograph.
I'm looking at the box art now, and I'm like, what the? Like, he's trying to like get out of the box.
Yeah, exactly. And then the dinosaurs themselves. Before it was the packs, now it's just the individual. So now, finally breaking the streak. This will be the last episode of the podcast where we talk about how the dinosaurs are on pre-order.
We could finally end it. Are they coming out this month or next month?
I think they're coming out next month, actually.
Oh, God. We might have to record an episode and they'll still be on pre-order.
Yeah. Well, I'd hope. But that moves us on to the thing that we actually wanted to talk about, which was the 2,000-point army bundles.
Yeah, which one do you want to start with, the Nord one or the Wadroon one?
I guess the Wadroon one, because it's chronologically just before.
Oh, okay.
Based on that.
I've already clicked. I already have both open in separate tabs. So,
well, then we're covered.
Yeah.
So this is a
tells you the full breakdown. Yeah, so you are going to get, for the low price of $629, full 2,000 point
That's
armor.
Canadian.
Is that Canadian?
Dollar dues, yeah.
Oh, it is, yeah, US and Canada. So you're going to get a Wadroon Predator, Raptor Riders, Blooded, Slingers, Chieftain Tontador Rider, Thunder Chieftain Artisan Series, it's a resin guy, one whole Tontador, 2 Hunting Pack, 2 boxes of Veteran, 1 Thunder Riders, you're going to get a rulebook, and you're going to get First Blood rulebook. That's it.
So overall, yeah, that's it. That's a lot. I think it's a pretty good deal. I haven't priced out. Some people were saying it's about $100 or so that you save over, or maybe 150 or 160 over what they would cost normally, which is fine. One thing to watch out for is the veterans are it's not the mix, like the dual kit from what I've heard that lets you make Chosen of Conquest, which would have really amplified the value of this considerably.
Yeah.
But
you're going to Chieftain Tontador Rider and a Thunder Chieftain. Oh, so you need to go buy your own Scion, but at that point, whatever, it's an extra, $30?
Yeah, well, the Scion would go with the Drum Beast anyway. She can't ride the Tontor.
No. But they do have a breakdown, if you scroll down a bit, of like what each thing is. Like the Slingers is a dual kit, and it gives you the pricing and how many you're getting. So there's a full breakdown, what's really nice for this.
Yeah. Not a bad start. Like, it's not the most like, it's probably more hunting packs than you need, it's probably more veterans than you need, but like we were sort of touching on before we started recording, like, I think being able to just pay an upfront cost and get just like a full army, just bang, is not a bad thing for people who are looking to get into it. So,
well, either if you're looking to get into it and you think, like, maybe you got a couple demos, you're like, yeah, this is going to be my game. Yeah, I got like a bunch of money burning a hole in my pocket. I could buy all this and get ready to go and just build and play it in the next month. Like that, if that's what is in your wheelhouse, you could totally do that. This is also another really good deal if you're thinking about getting into a Wadroon and you're like, well, I gotta go get into a Wadroon, but then I gotta buy everything, and it's like, there's only so much stuff at my store, and it's maybe some stuff I don't want. And here it's like, here's your 2,000 point list. You can just buy it, build it, and go. And you have a huge into the faction because you already have your 2,000 point army.
Like, there's stuff you're inevitably going to change, but the ability to you've got the box, you can play a full-size game. You can play anything up to a full-size game.
Right out of the box.
It's, every other... and this is, I guess, me editorializing to a degree, so I know everybody hates that, so I apologize, but most miniature games are, obviously their business model is to have you buying more miniatures, so they never want to give you everything all at once. And this doesn't even do that, but it gives you like enough that you don't you don't feel like you're missing a big chunk to like get started. I mean, again, you're not gonna like roll in with the list that you build out of this box and win a tournament. You might. Maybe you're the best player in the world.
Yeah.
I don't think so, but you might be. I haven't met you, but I don't think so.
Is that title reserved for you?
Yes.
I'm the best player in the world. You haven't met me.
Yep. And I don't. It's going to probably be a while before anybody can prove whether or not I am the best Conquest player in the world. So for now, me personally, I'm it.
Yeah. Congratulations on being the very best.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just have to want it bad enough.
I want it. I really, really want it. Oh my god, that's
no, but it's a great start. Like the Tauntaur is what you want. You want
Thunder Riders. You want Thunder
Chieftain, the Thunder Riders. Yeah, so
Hunting Pack is
lots of good stuff there.
Like, yeah, 2 units of Hunting Pack is probably the most you're ever gonna buy. I feel because I think they're restricted.
No, they're mainstay, but it's just
can't put any characters in them.
Yeah, that's where it gets unwieldy. But I don't know, they're cheap for what they are, so like I've definitely thought about running double hunting packs. I just don't, it's just not an auto win, but like on the other hand, you'll never have to buy another box of hunting packs, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, that's true. I really feel like if you ever bought this, your hunting pack quota is complete for life. I think you're probably gonna buy another I think you're gonna buy another unit of Thunder. Like, so let's say you buy this, you build it, you play with it, you have a good time, you want to invest more. I think you're going to buy another unit of Thunder Riders, minimum. You're probably going to pick up another unit of Raptor Riders, potentially, maybe not right away. Blooded, you're probably getting another unit of. You can, 2 units of Blooded are probably a good choice. What are your thoughts on veterans? I don't...
They have yet to really impress me. Like, the trouble is, they're not... Like, there's some appealing things about them. They're not the worst thing in the world, but it's just point for point. It's probably more efficient to take a bigger block of Braves than it is the equivalent points in veterans.
Yeah.
Like they get a free chant, and that's great. Can't argue with that. But the main, I don't know. It just they. Even with the adjustments, they fail to impress. So being locked into the veterans
in this box, because you can't dual kit it into into Chosen of Conquest, because then you would just go buy a Scion of Conquest and you have 2 boxes of Chosen instead of veterans. It'd probably be a lot better.
Yeah, it's 2 boxes. Like I have lists that have been working on that use 2 units, 2 MSUs of Chosen at Conquest. They're very good units. They're very expensive, but
get the work done. Yeah,
it's my philosophy after going up against the 12-stat block of Gilded Legion is something is only too expensive if it doesn't do what it's supposed to. If something does what it's supposed to, it's the perfect cost.
I like that. I actually do. That's pretty good.
It's I don't know. That's something that does what it's supposed to. Like, maybe it is overcosted, but it did what you needed it to, so...
I know it works. Yeah.
Yeah, if it wins you the game, then it was the perfect cost for what it did.
Yeah, I will sacrifice my entire army to win. No one is more valuable than anyone else. Unless you're...
I'll drop...
Unless you're militia, then you die first.
Yeah, if there are definitely some lists that dip into comically low amounts of activations, 8 total, including characters and things like that. And it's but if they win, then nothing else mattered.
I think we have one guy on our Discord in the Lagoon channel who keeps posting more and more lists that use Thunder Riders and Chosen Conquest and Tauntadors to be the lowest activations he can get.
Yeah. I've been designing similar things, and you know what? Call me Flo Rida, because you can get low.
Oh God!
I didn't have my phone with me, so I'm really hoping Flo Rida did that song, or else I'm going to be I will fix that in post.
I gotta make sure.
I don't give a shit.
You gotta make sure my music is right. Everything else can go burn.
Oh, the song is just called Low. So I mean, I'm 50% embarrassed. It wasn't Get Low. So now I just sound like a suburbanite
What was it? When last...
over this 20-year-old rap song.
I think the last time I heard that song was in Tropic Thunder from like Tom Cruise or something.
Sounds about right. I don't know. That opening verse is iconic. I think about it a lot. Anytime I see apple bottom jeans or boots with the fur, how can you not?
Yeah. I'm talking about her.
Exactly.
All right. Are we good with the Madroon 2,000 point army?
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Nord one. To the Nords one. Da-da-da-da. This one's $100 cheaper. It's only $5.29.
Yeah, I don't understand it.
I think it's because it doesn't have a huge fucking Brontosaurus in the list.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Yeah.
So this one gives you more or less, like, you get the perfect amount of Valkyries.
Do you want to... Should we just rattle off what's in here?
Oh, yeah, I guess we should, instead of me just assuming people are looking at what I'm looking at.
No, some people drive while they listen to this.
I don't get it.
Driving? What's that?
Yeah. But this box comes with an MSU of Blooded, MSU of Oogers, MSU of Trolls, and sorry, when I said MSU of Blooded, I was still being Orc Brain. That's one Blooded character model.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get the Fenner Beast Pack, but there's a typo on the website that says Fern Beast Pack, which is amusing to me. Also, I would run that.
The Tree Beast Pack?
Yeah, I'm really into that, not gonna lie. You get Stalkers. You get a Cononir. You get a Volva. You get a unit of Bochosen. You get a unit of Huskarls. You get a Sea Jotnar. You get a Mountain Jotnar, but it's the old.
Yeah.
Big Chungus style.
Big Chungy.
Mountain Jotnar, and then you get 2 units of Valkyries, and of course you get 2 rule books that
you're probably not going to use.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they're at they're current with the rule set, and then you'll get like a month and a half use out of them, and then the revision will come out, and it's just like,
yeah,
I'm not gonna bother. This is gonna go on my deprecated rule books pile. I
have a shelf of my on my bookshelf that has old like game rule books, like all the different versions of War Machine, a bunch of different versions of like 40K, a bunch of old D&D books, like just all that stuff is on there. You can collect dust there with the rest of them.
I'm so annoyed. I have every Last Argument of Kings rulebook, and I have the old 1.0 First Blood rulebook with the Wadroon army list in it, but I've lost somehow my old 1.0 Last Argument of Kings Wadroon print army list, which I wish I still had because I want to marvel at how bad our list was in 1.0. But sorry, you were about to say?
Oh, I like looking over what you get here in the Nords one. I think it's actually a really good deal. Like all these things,
it's everything that you need.
Yeah,
trolls.
Like this is all stuff you're gonna play with. You kind of want at least minimum 1 box, maybe 2. Like I know for Bow Chosen, like if you were like this would be a good one to buy, build. Like once again, if you want to get into Nords, it's actually a really good buy-in. I know trolls aren't the greatest, but like there had to be something, just like the veterans from the Wadroon box. They had to put something that wasn't selling in these, of course.
Yeah.
What's trolls?
But
so you're gonna get your 1 box of trolls. I don't know, maybe swap it out for something else, or double down to get more trolls. Just get a 9 block of trolls. Have people fight that thing. But the 2 boxes of Valkyries with the Volva, super good. That's your anvil. Huskarls are probably just, you're sitting on his own scoring nowadays. I think the Coningir might want to sit with the Bow Chosen so he can be another scorer. And
yeah, like
Fenner's
probably
Beast
the Huskarls would be a cut.
Yeah,
honestly.
I would cut the Huskarls. It's kind of between the two, like the trolls and the Huskarls. Like Uger are really...
they're both like I think those are the 2 parts of it that you would lose, but everything else like goes in a Nord list currently. So
yeah. Like, the MSU of Uger is just really nice to have that hammer, like, after you get the setup. Like, if someone hits your Valks, you can get the Uger into them. if someone kills off, let's say, your Fenris Beast pack and you get the Ooger into them, you just start going Ooger Town. You just go Ooga, Ooga, Ooga.
Yep, you just
Ooger.
Ooger right into him. And then you've got 2 light units that can each take a heavier unit for early game scoring, so that's nice. You've got the Fenners who are... I know people on the official Discord are not big Fenner Beast Pack fans these days,
Whatever.
but I think
they're amazing.
Yeah, they're great. They're some of the best objective Cheds in the game, I still think, in my opinion.
How many points
The 2 giant options are fine, but you're gonna buy an Ice Yachtnar, so accept that. But otherwise, I think this is actually a better overall value than the Wadroon box, just because there's less that you're gonna be there's more that you're gonna be using for longer.
Yeah, there's less duds, and the duds you do have, you can easily swap out for some other stuff, like dropping the Huskarls and Trolls from our Bow Chosen, a couple more upgrades, and filling out some units. You're good.
Yeah.
Fenner's Beastpack are 130. Yeah, they're in that objective chud range of, what do we say, 100 points to 130, or is it 140? Yeah, somewhere
I'd say 1 to 140 is probably the pocket, but they for what you get for that package, I think is good for that point value. That is to say.
Yeah, no, what do I own here? I don't own any of the Velks. I don't own the Sea Jotnar. I don't own the Trolls. The rest of it, I think I already have. So, like, even if I want to expand my low bearing of Nords, I'd probably buy this myself.
Yeah, it's the only thing I'm missing out of the box, unfortunately, is the Sea Jotnar. So that
you're gonna pay $529 just to get a Sea Jotnar?
Yeah. I'm the priciest Sea Jotnar in the game. Yeah. I should have taken advantage of that Surf and Turf deal, honestly, but
you wanted the Chungus Mountain Giant, not the skinny one who went to the beach.
Yeah, I don't want the looks like he's in a regional wrestling league.
One of the funny
like
things,
Travis the Elbow Chonkowski or fucking whatever.
It's like British boxing, British street boxing. You got some weird ass names. One of the things I think about every once in a while is the 2-player starter set between Nords and City States, and that the Nords side has a conning gear, and there's lots of people who are like selling the Nords half for the 2-player starter, and it's like, is there a person who keeps buying those and has like 4 conning gears? It's like, I don't know what the fuck to do with these.
I hope so. Because I bought a regular conning gear before I got I split the city, the starter with our City States player because I wanted that limited edition conning gear. So I've already got 2. I've got 4 Predators. There's, as far as I'm concerned, and this is a controversial opinion, which I know is what,
this is what people come here for.
Everybody knows this and loves this for. The measure of your value as a Conquest player, or your realness or your legitness, is how many redundant doubles of character models you've turned up with. So,
I would say these are actually pretty good deals for what you're getting, and I do like how I think they're online store exclusives. What's also really nice for Parabellum, if they're not in stores, so it's not like sitting and taking up shelf space. Like, if you want this, you can just order it from online. That also helps Parabellum. They're like, oh, okay, there's someone who ordered the bundle. Grab all the stuff that we have on the warehouse and just throw it in a box and mail it to them.
Yeah. Plus, with the online store, a lot of content creators, not us,
no,
I guess for some reason, but a lot of them have codes that you can use in the store and get
10% off.
10% off. Yeah, I assume that they will eventually just see what a great job that we're doing and set us up with that.
Shoot us a message.
So I'm just gonna, we'll just sit and wait.
I think we have to sign up or ask for it. I'm just like, nah, they can come to me.
I have too much dignity for that, so I guess use Goonhammer's code. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. We're getting paid? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
No, anytime it comes up, though, I make it sound like I'm making a just an absurd amount of money from being a essentially unknown podcaster.
Yeah, there's every once in a while on the Discord or whatever, like in the BonkTable one or in the general one, people will be like, when are you gonna start a Patreon? I'm like, I don't fucking know. I have no idea what I would put for rewards or tiers or anything. Like, do you want the raw, unedited bullshit? Like, it's way worse than what we're showing.
Yeah, I feel like you're already not. I don't know how to phrase this, but I don't want to abandon this joke either, as stupid as it is. Like, you're already gaining so little value from listening to the podcast for free that to give us money on top of it and for me to have no idea what to offer in return for that, it's essentially criminal.
It's like... No, it feels like I'm just taking your money. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with
like,
it?
At least if I sell you fake medicine, you think you're gonna get better.
Oh my god!
Something.
You know what? I figured it out. We're gonna start selling NFTs.
Let's sell fake medicine. We'll drive from town to town, and we'll sell cures. And then before people have time to figure out that they don't work, we just leave. We just back up and go.
We're snake oil salesmen. Is that?
We're about to be.
Our Patreon will mail you snake oil.
Yeah, or NFTs that will tell people.
Oh my god.
Will fix their health.
Yeah, I have no idea what to do. If you have suggestions, go to the BonkTable Discord in the show notes below and suggest them to me. And Mike, just so that we have an idea what the fuck to do.
Or just come hang out in our Discord. I like to have fun in the chat room, so...
Yeah. You own the place and you treat it like you own it.
Yes.
So if you
ever want to see somebody act like LARP as a wealthy dilettante in a Discord, then come check us out.
Alright, I think that's good for PB News.
Yeah.
Should we go to our
PB News?
Whatever the fuck just happened.
Classic BonkTable content.
Yeah, we talked about it, okay? We got there. Just took us 3 years.
Yeah. That takes us to the rule of the week.
Sure, you want me to read this off?
Do it.
Alright, the rule of the week is unyielding. Your opponent cannot claim an objective that is contested by a stand with this special rule. Period. That's it. Yeah,
it's a motherfucker of few words, this one, because I went up against it actually just the other day, playing against our local City States player, and it sucks because it made me like almost lose the game. So and that's what did it, because there were points where I would have otherwise been winning on a point that the game was sort of focused on, and then because he could pop that off at times, it wasn't, and that sucks. That's a very powerful ability to have.
Yeah.
And I don't have it, so it only sucks to me. But if you have it, A+.
A+. I believe this ability is only on the Polemark, and it's only on their either battlefield orders or tactics. They get to pick one or the other. They either give unyielding to the regiment, or they give volleys have to re-roll their ones, or the regiment re-rolls its 6s on defense saves. One of the two. And what the City States player does is they draw the character, declare the order, and then run the hoplite unit onto the zone. And they say, come and get me. And then you have to go and fight this hoplite unit. And they could have a hoplite unit that is, I don't know, 9, 12, 34 stands long. But as long as one of those damn stands and this ability has been triggered on that zone for that turn, you're not scoring jack and shit.
And it's annoying because they're not even going to kill you.
No.
It's just like...
And if you ever leave, they score, and you're like, well, I can't fucking leave.
Have you seen that meme where it's like the guy talking about being in a rival with a wizard, and then he tries to kill the wizard, and he gets banished to the desert, so then he spends like 10 years exiting the desert, and he comes back to confront the wizard with a pistol, and then he appears in the desert again.
No, but I would love for you to send this to me so I could actually see this meme. Sounds great.
I will. But getting out of the desert, that's what fighting a big block of hoplites feels like. Because you're not dying, but it's taking forever, and it's miserable.
Eventually you will kill them. But hopefully they don't bring the Minotaur Thyrians around to actually kill you, and you're like, ah, shit.
Yeah. But man, a big block of hoplites just has an absurd amount of staying power.
They don't.
And if they're not giving up the point because you can't wiggle around it on a technicality, then it stinks.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing you can do to get around this is to just duel the character and find out who wins.
That's true.
Yeah. But as we know, it's like, I had one opponent in my Saskatoon games. Was like, hey, do you want to duel my character? I'm like, fuck no. I'm not dueling shit. You kidding me?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, that's the problem with duels right now, is it's like...
It's super swingy, and if you super deck out to it, you're for sure going to win, but your opponent's going to be like, fuck, I'm not going near the killy character.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, there's no reason to have to, unless you've, like, built into it, and if you haven't, then you probably... It's like it's
not worth it. Like,
it sucks to break, but sometimes breaking is better than losing your character for no reason.
Yeah, like, especially if that character is providing a ton of buffs to, like, a regiment or the rest of the army through, like, a Supremacy ability. Like, if it has more value to the rest of your list than trying to win a duel on a point to get rid of unyielding, maybe this is not the correct choice.
Yeah, and I feel like probably if you're listening to this, you may have forgotten that characters can unbreak the regiment on
their
activation.
Yeah.
So if you expect that you're going to get dueled, you can build your stack around that and actually almost entirely avoid the consequences for it, depending on the specifics of how things are going to be playing out that round.
Yeah, just throw your character on the bottom of the deck.
Yeah. But sometimes, though, it is funny to have two non-dueling characters get into a slap fight just because there's, like... it's like, when the stakes are low enough with two characters, then the duel, like, it almost becomes worth it, just if you have nothing else going on that action. You just throw that duel out there and try and put a couple wounds on him and maybe kill him, because, like... Why not? Like, a matriarch queen can generally fight any weaker...
Like a wizard
character. Yeah, like, she's not necessarily going to win it, but she's probably not going to take too many injuries, so, like, why the heck not?
Yeah. No, I have done it before, like, with a noble lord, like, the foot one, or even the one on the horse, where I'm like, I'll get into, like, a theist priest or a chapter mage, I'll be like, I could declare a duel, and my opponent's like, what? I'm like, yeah, get at me with your Clash 1.
Yeah.
I wonder.
That's the thing.
Oh man, if you're Clash 1 on like a chapter mage or a theist, no, theist priests are better. If you're Clash 1 on like a chapter mage and you have discerning strike on something, so their Clash goes down by 1, are you like Clash 0 and you can't do anything?
You know, that's interesting. I'm gonna look at that and see what I think.
Yeah. Because I think because
I don't know for sure, but that'd be funny.
Because I think I think one of our Dwag players, the most recent one, he like built his hold ray to duel, and I was like, yeah, there's no fucking way I'm going near that thing. Like, you kidding me? He's like, he has Quicksilver Strike and the thing that gets rid of Quicksilver Strike. I'm like, dude, all my characters are built to either grab regiments or to support regiments. I'm not getting into a fucking duel.
Yeah. I mean, a kitted out Cannoneer, if you take the Evasion 3 build, still has, even if they turn off your Quicksilver Strike, still has a 50-50 chance of making it.
Oh, yeah. Just
so.
But back to Unyielding, it's really good if you're the City States player, you want to kind of do the battlefield order that allows you to reroll your defenses. I think it's your 6 on defenses until you get into the zone. And then if you're in the zone, basically spam Unyielding for the remainder of the game, so your opponent has to kill every single Hoplite. And that gives you plenty of time to set up any counter charges with like Minotaur Thyrians, the big Trident Strike Giant, or anything else that's really deadly in your list that can do a ton of damage.
Yep.
If you're like have to deal with this, I would say throw enough stuff in that might just to contest it, so they're not scoring it, and lock them down. And you're kind of now playing their game, but maybe you have a character that can outduel the polo mark and just kill them, and then you're good. But I think that's really the only way, is you just hopefully send in a strong enough offensive character to just duel out the polo mark, kill them, and then it's like, all right, like you don't have to worry about it anymore.
Yeah, but the odds are you're just gonna have to grind through that brick of hoplites. So just get into the sides, get some cleave in there. You'll do it. It's just gonna take your whole life.
Yeah. If you get a side charge to a block of hoplites, they go from like defense 4 to defense 2, and if you have cleave 1, they're like defense 1, you'll just watch them start like falling apart real quick. They don't like being side charged.
Yeah. No, that's very true. But yeah, and yielding is a good ability to have when the whole game is like this game is very, because there's no like, and I've been playing a little bit of 40k, so it's fresh in my head. But like in 40k, you kind of play the secondaries. The primaries are just holding the point is all well and good, but that's not what gets you the game. But in this game, like holding the point
is the game.
Yeah. So anything that gives you an advantage in doing that is really, whether that's putting a heavy in a light regiment or assuring that you're going to be holding a point when you're on it, is just super valuable. So, and I felt that firsthand, and hopefully I'll be releasing a battle report that explores that in more detail in the next couple of days, but which will be in the past compared to when this is being recorded and then released. But whatever, time doesn't exist.
Oh my god, are you gonna put it on the BonkTable YouTube channel?
Yeah. Yeah, that's assuming it passes muster, since you are the one with the login credentials for that. So I guess that gives you
do whatever I want with it.
Gives you decision making power. Yeah,
you just send it to
exactly.
Me. And I'll have to put it to the board of approvals. It's like, it's just you. Yes, the board is still approving that. You'll have to hold on.
Well, I'm no stranger to bureaucracy, so...
No, you work for the government at the DMV. Your entire job is bureaucracy.
Precisely.
You're the worst kind of person. The administrative person.
Yeah. Just the worst. Filth.
You're not Phil. My god. Should we get on to something that's really filthy, though?
Yeah.
Supremacies? So I'm on page 22 of the rulebook where it talks about supremacy abilities. This isn't a huge amount. I'm going to read it off, and then I think we're going to go through... should we go through each of the factions and talk about the supremacies for the release characters? Kind of keep us down to what's out right now instead of talking about like potential supremacies.
Yeah, I think that's probably for the best.
Okay.
Because it's going to be bad enough me trying to speak to supremacies for armies that I don't play because I don't know the nuances of how they work. So if we start to involve models that aren't even out yet, then my predictions are still going to start to get just like into the absurd conspiracy theory adjacent zone of conquest takes.
Yeah. I also don't think we should rate them, or if we do, it's like best in faction, worst in faction, and like this is okay, this is really good. Like that level of No,
I'm gonna rate them now, but each individual supremacy is gonna be rated on a different metric from all the other ones. So
you're gonna give them like different stickers, like you get the unicorn sticker. Oh, you have the starfish. Like,
yeah,
essentially.
Okay. But just in a way that just lets me feel like I'm doing something, but doesn't actually accomplish anything. What do they call it? Busy work. I want to give myself some busy work.
We got to stretch out the runtime of this podcast. It's not long enough as it is.
Yeah, that's what we have to do.
All right, I'm gonna read off supremacy abilities on page 22 of the rulebook. It's half a page. I'll just read it off. Fuck it. So, supremacy abilities. Many character stands have a supremacy ability that you can use in this phase. Once per game, unless stated otherwise by the supremacy ability, when constructing your army list, choose one of your characters to be your warlord. This character stand's supremacy will be available to use during the battle. Supremacy abilities are powerful special rules that you may well turn the tide of the battle. Using yours at the right moment may well spell the difference between victory and defeat. Once the first player has been determined, the first player declares if they are going to use a supremacy ability. Regardless of whether the first player chooses to use a supremacy ability, the second player then declares if they are going to use a supremacy ability. If a player has access to more than one supremacy ability, they may use only one in each round and must declare which one they are using during the phase. A character stand must be on the battlefield to use their supremacy ability, unless the supremacy ability explicitly explicitly states otherwise. Some supremacy abilities are always considered to be active. These do not need to be activated and are always considered to be in use for as long as the character stand remains on the battlefield, unless otherwise stated. Activating a supremacy ability does not cause an always activated supremacy ability to be deactivated. Moreover, if the character stand activates the supremacy ability, that character stand is destroyed, during the round, the supremacy ability is not affected and remains in play. That's it. Them's the rules.
Yep.
A lot of this kind of talks about how different supremacies interact with each other, because as we talk about more character supremacies in the next little bit, you're going to find ones that are always going to be on, ones that you need to choose to activate during the supremacy phase, what is after the roll-off to see who goes first, and which ones require a character to be on the field, which ones require a character to be off the table, which ones are still active even if the character is dead. And they all say that in the supremacies themselves, because before the May update, there was a lot of problems with what is on, what is off, and it was worded kind of weird, and Parabellum went in and cleaned up a lot of that wording. Well, it was really nice of them.
Yeah.
So, over to the army builder. Want to start at 100 Kingdoms?
Yeah, as one does.
Yep, first in line, Chapter Mage. So 100 Kingdoms is a little unique with their supremacies in that they have the army rule of Dynastic Alliance always to be on. Before you had to pick it out of your 3 army rules, now it's just considered to always be active and you just pick the other 2 army rules. So this allows 100 Kingdoms players to pick 2 supremacy abilities. And a lot of 100 Kingdoms players will combo 2 supremacy abilities together to increase their list. So a very classic combination is your whatever warlord and the chapter mate's supremacy ability of protective glyphs. So for this one, enemy spellcasters selecting a friendly regiment as a target of their spellcasting action count as being affected by enemy interference. In addition, when this character stand performs a spellcasting action, if attempting to cast a spell with a range of self, the spell counts as having range 8 instead of this spellcasting action. I can read. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So there's that line at the very end there. Lets you know that this supremacy is always on. However, it doesn't say anything about the character stand being off the table. So once this character is on the table, this supremacy is always active and you don't have to declare it during your supremacy step. And if the character dies, then it lasts until the end of the round and then it's done. So you'll see people Dynastic Alliance a Chapter Mage because a Chapter Mage can't be your first warlord. And this is really just to get the School of Water, the healing spell Nuala's Tears, instead of range self, be range 8, so you can heal other things besides the regiment the Chapter Mage is in. And the Chapter Mage can then sit back in like a unit of Men-at-Arms or a unit of Merc Crossbows and just cast healing spells on better stuff and not be in the fight, like Steel Legion, Gilded Legion, Ashen Dawn, any of that stuff. The next part about this is really nice is the enemy interference. Because it affects every single regiment in your army, your opponent's casting is kind of screwed. Like you don't have to worry about that interference bubble of, I think it's like 8 or 10 inches from the casters in your list, so the Theist Priests and the Chapter Mages. You just have it on everybody, just base. So it's usually a little nice thing you kind of build your list around and into if you're going to do it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, fuck that shit. Yeah, no, it's a good ability. Like, generally speaking, the 100k supremacies are pretty decent.
Don't worry, we'll get to
The
the bad
interference
ones.
one, I don't think it comes up too much in and of itself. Like, that's not why you take this. It's for the
The healing spell.
getting the range 8.
Yeah.
There's a couple other abilities that let you trick, not necessarily supremacies, but different special abilities from being self to aura abilities, and that's really valuable.
Yeah. I would put this up there, like, it's pretty good, something you want to look to and build for. If you're doing it right, you're probably having a good time with it. Simple as that. Next one, I think your absolute favorite or your second favorite, or some people's absolute favorite, is the Imperial Officer's Rapid Deployment. Rapid Deployment says, all friendly infantry regiments in the army gain the Vanguard special rule for the duration of the battle. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active, regardless of whether the character stands currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed. So there's that additional line of, like, it's always active, and the character stand doesn't even need to be on the battlefield, or doesn't even need to be alive. You just need to make this guy your warlord. And Vanguard just gives you that first march free. It gives you an extra free march on your infantry.
You're gonna hate me for this one.
Yeah?
But I think that's a little overtuned.
Okay, no, and that's fair. I'm not gonna say bad things, but this is I would say the best supremacy in all of 100 Kingdoms right here. That extra, like, 5-6 inches you get from that free Vanguard, depending on their unit or depending on the regiment for that march, it just gets all the infantry up the table really quick.
And so what this does, sorry, go ahead. I didn't.
Well, it runs them all up the table really quick. It puts that line of engagement is set by the 100 Kingdoms player and really puts the initiative and the pressure upon your opponent if you're the 100 Kingdoms player, because now they have to worry about getting up the table faster because you are now in zones, scoring zones, and potentially scoring more zones than them. Or by them, I mean your opponent, so that you can win on scenario. Now you can go ahead.
Yeah. That's essentially it. Like, what this does is hard counter to Faction's main thing, which is being able to score a little bit faster than everybody else. And it puts it on, basically, like, if you're choosing this, you're probably running an infantry list.
Yeah.
And there's no way to turn it off or counter it, so everybody just moves like crazy. Generally speaking, you are moving stuff onto the points as soon as scoring becomes possible.
Yeah.
And it's mediums, so there isn't even the risk inherent of having your easiest to shift stuff getting blapped off the point while you wait for your slower, more resilient things to get on.
Well, it's like, have you ever seen a 12 block of Gilded Legion run 16 inches up the table?
Oh, so many times. So I don't know. It's like, obviously it's very good. I'm gonna make the argument that it's probably just a little bit too good in its current form.
Yeah, like, before the Ashen Dawn came out, like, the Imperial Officer and his entire warband was doing all the heavy lifting for 100 Kingdoms, and he was not making it even off the back of Rapid Deployment. Like, there was a bunch of changes in 100 Kingdoms to get them to where they currently are. Now with the changes, like, I played the horse list the past 5 games, so my more recent thoughts of Rapid Deployment are, it's very good, it's very strong. If half your list is taken, like, has infantry in it, look at an Imperial Officer for that Vanguard, because you're going to be getting a lot out of it. And, like, an infantry, if you're playing full infantry, 100% take the Imperial Officer. If you're doing a little bit of a cav dip, let's say you take a Priory Commander of the Crimson Tower and grab a 1 unit of Crimson Towers, 1 unit of Ashen Dawn, take the Imperial Officer Vanguard. Like, it is so good being that fast, especially in this game where, like, speed matters because you're pushing bricks up the table and bricks don't move that fast. So I cannot sing the praise of the Imperial Officer more than I currently am. It is the best Supremacy in 100 Kingdoms.
Yep. And it's so when the unit that I can get on the point is Defense 1, hunters with a matriarch queen embedded in them to get them to be able to score, and at the same point where they are able to actually score, you're able to get, for instance, AP1 crossbowmen or
Hunter Cadre or
Hunter Cadre, or even just mediums who are going to just
like Household Guard. Even having longbows being able to march onto the table, take aim, and shoot first turn is super good. Having longbows double march shoot up the table is really good. Like, there's so many combinations you can do with this Supremacy that it's like it even has points. I would say that it's a contender for even best in the game.
Yep. And especially with the added ability to, because you can add, like, you can give double time through character, can't you, as well?
Yeah, through the Imperial Officer.
Same guy. So you're always
triple marching.
Yeah, and that's I don't know. I feel like I'm in the Invasion of the Pod people, and I'm the last normal human at this point, because I'm like trying to argue like this is nuts, and everybody's just like, no, it's normal. I
can't. It's hard to me to defend something like this good because I've played it a ton and really jammed it down our locals' throats of like how good this is. But then we also have like other 100 Kingdoms players in our meta that are using the same thing that I'm using. Like, I know how good this is. A lot of our other meta has played against it and knows how good it is. I think like it really also punishes slower factions like Old Dominion, Dwag that's not playing like any Infernal Automatas or Flame Berserkers. It kind of punishes them because it keeps them on the back foot, except Dwag will just castle and kill everything and get in there anyway in the later turns of the game. But it also like really pushes on more glass cannon focused factions like Woodrune and Nords, where because everything's running up the table and has higher defense and pretty much the same offensive power, the 100k player is going to win because he can get to those zones faster, hold those zones longer, kill off the stuff that the Nords player is having or the Woodrune player is having, and take the zones and win the game. Like, I'm not gonna how do I say this? Like, I'm not gonna defend that because that's what's going on with this ability, and that's why it's so strong.
Yeah, so I don't know what the fix is there. That maybe just some kind of limitation on it, or some way for it to be interacted with. But and it's because it's so rock solidly like this is fucking happening. That's what's like, because like, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here, but like another very, very powerful ability that I love a lot is the Chieftain Shock Supremacy, which I will talk about glowingly and in detail. But you know what? You kill him and it's gone. He's not on the table. It's not there, and that just doesn't exist with this. With rapid deployment, like, they're fucking hustling.
Yeah, this guy showed up, got onto the table, fell over drunk, and was like, "You go, boys. I'm gonna smoke a doobie and drink a little more, and you get her done." Yeah. Like, he just needs to do that. He doesn't need to get it on the table and stay around. Like, it's like, hey, who's in charge? The Imperial Officer. Why is his arms missing and half his head is gone? We got here.
Doesn't matter. Let's hoof it.
Yeah. He said so before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah. And usually when he dies, it's like, it doesn't matter if it had, if he, like, having been destroyed clause is removed. Because at that point, the majority of your list has already benefited from Vanguard and is up the table anyway.
Yeah, because you're just saying no to duels. Yeah. Even on the off chance that, like, so if I use my skirmisher hunters to blast 15 inches up and get into a duel with your Imperial Officer unit, you're just going to say no, like, and then kill me.
There's a hard fuck that. He does not do well in duels. Should we get to the next one then? Before we...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mounted Noble Lord. This guy has the speed of horse supremacy. While this character stands on the battlefield, all Household Knight regiments gain the Impact +1 special rule and reroll failed hit rolls of 6 when resolving impact attacks. This supremacy ability is always considered active. So, with him and his speed of horse, all the Household Knight regiments get +1 impact and reroll 6s. He will be joining a Household Knight regiment, so he will also be getting +1 impact and rerolling 6s. That's how that works, because he is part of the regiment, and the speed of horse is affecting the regiment. This one's a little niche because it only affects Household Knights, so it's one specific unit. However, if you build your list for Household Knights, and especially if you go for like a super buff bus where you're taking all the upgrades that affect Household Knights and putting them in veterans, you'll see a lot of output out of this supremacy and that entire bus. It's a kind of a point sink, but the other one I want to say is that if you grab a Mounted Noble Lord or like you grab 2 Mounted Noble Lords and 2 units or each for Household Knights, so there's 4 of them, that benefit also goes on all the other Household Knights from the warband that other Mounted Noble Lord is in who's not the Warlord as well, because it just says on any of the regiments. If you kill him, it goes away. So usually when I'm playing this, I kind of keep him in the back and hold him as long as I can, or set him up for like that perfect charge so he can do a ton of damage, and try and get the most use of the supremacy, though, that he's the last Household Knight unit to die, so that once all the regiments of Household Knights are dead and he dies last, well, okay, there's no more Household Knights to benefit from this ability anyway, so the fuck do I care at that point?
Yeah. This feels like a pretty, just a, what I would say is almost the emblematic or the iconic, like, mid-range supremacy ability. Like, you gotta build into it to get the most out of it. It's okay. Yeah. It's not, like, there are ways that you can leverage it to get a decent amount of output out of it, but it's not gonna, there's counterplay, and it's specific in sort of, like, it's narrow in what it actually impacts. So.
Yeah, it's narrow but strong if you take the things that it wants to support.
It seems fine.
One of the things I will say about supremacies, the better ones are the ones that affect more of your list and more of the table. Like, generally, I find. Because, like, the Chapters Mage, I would kind of rank higher than the Mounted Noble Lords, because if you don't build the Noble Lord a certain way, or take enough Household Knight units, or buff them up enough to get a ton work out of Speed of Horse, the Chapter Mages is probably going to do well for you, healing more guys. The Imperial Officer, of course, infects the entire infantry side of the army. But if you do work and get all those things ready for the Speed of Horse supremacy, you are going to find success with it. But it's just, in more terms, the Imperial Officer is going to affect more. I'm good with that one. You want to go to the Noble Lord?
Sure.
Okay, so we got the Best of Men. While this character stands on the battlefield, all friendly infantry regiments within 6 inches of this character stand may re-roll unmodified rolls of 6 when making defense rolls. In addition, they may also re-roll unmodified hit rolls of 6 during the clash action. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. I don't put a ton of stock into this one.
No, I was gonna say this one sucks.
I would say there's one more which sucks more, but please tell me why this one sucks.
Okay, so first of all, there's a proximity factor.
Oh yeah, and it's tiny.
So, yeah, it's very small, and so you have to make sure that, like, aura abilities in other games with more mobility make more sense than in this game. Because usually, if you have a character who's giving an aura, they are going to be doing something that's not, that, like, you can't, they're going to be doing something else that's important enough that you can't plan to have them around somebody else to benefit from it, so it becomes very situational.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, anything that gives me a reroll of a 1 or a 6 means that automatically I stop rolling 1s or 6s. Flat out, that relentless blows. It seems like a really cool rule. I have yet to experience it firsthand, but so I don't know. It's you have a 1 in 6 chance in 2 phases of the turn to get use out of this if the character is within 6 inches of the unit.
Yeah, so there's a bit of setup. This usually affects the unit he's in and like one more unit that's beside him that he can touch, because you only need to touch that thing within 6 inches. Like, you don't have to get the entire regiment that you're trying to help out within 6 inches. You just touch one stand and you're good. It's pretty rare to see 3 stands affected by this, just because of the 6-inch bubble. And if he's on the edge and you're running 3 wide household guard, like, you basically have to ram another unit right up beside the household guard and then be 6 inches from him on the other side of him. So it kind of gets a little tough. And I don't know if you're going to find like open space wide enough for basically, let's say you're just running 3 stands wide for everything. 9 stands? that's a little generous on the table, if I don't say so myself.
So check it out.
All right.
If you get 3 regiments attacking an enemy MSU regiment in a U shape, and the bottom of the U, the dip of the U, is the unit with the best of men infantry noble lord in it, and he is positioned dead center in the regiment, then he should be able to hand that buff to each of the other 2 regiments. Well, now, whatever godlike MSU you're going up against, you need to throw that much into it.
It's a unit of Ashen
I don't know. yeah, that's the only scenario.
Yeah, and if you're doing that to unit of Ashen Dawn, just go get a gun. There's better options.
Yeah.
It's just like break the glass, get the gun, and shoot the Ashen Dawn in the face until they die. Yeah, I put his as the second worst, because at least it's like you just check 6 and if stuff's in, cool, and it always affects his unit. The last guy we're going to talk about is the worst, but after that we're going to go to the prior commander of the Crimson Tower. He's going to give you the first blessing. Once per battle, every regiment in the prior commander's warband gains blessed for this round. A regiment that already has the blessed special rule gains either +1 to their attack characteristic, or gains the hardened +1 special rule until the round instead. This is an active supremacy. So this one, you got to pick the round you're going to use it on. So, as we read in the rulebook, you roll a dice, you find out who goes first. Whoever is that first player says, I'm going to use my supremacy, yes or no. Second player then says, I'm going to use my supremacy, yes or no. And you declare the first blessing. Something I have to mention, though, is what I found out, is that the +1 attack or the hardened 1 happens during the supremacy ability, like the supremacy phase. So when you declare it, you then declare which units that already have blessed get hardened or +1 attack. And I don't know what happens if you have, let's say, an Order of the Sword and gets the blessed spell cast upon them by the Theist Priest, and now they have 2 instances of bless. Like, does it go back? Do they get the hardened? Like, it's never... I don't think they would either, because the first blessing says during the supremacy phase, what's already passed when those Order of the Sword would have gotten that bless from the Theist Priest. So,
yeah.
It's passed, so they wouldn't be able to get that bonus.
That's my take.
And because there is that +1 attack in the Harden, the only unit that's really going to get affected by those special rules is the Order of the Ashen Dawn. And I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, you're going to put Harden on them. Just because keeping them around more is more annoying for your opponent than anything else you're going to do that entire game. Nice thing about Bless, it works on impact attacks and clash. And you're basically going to use it defensively in the Order of the Ashen Dawn, and if you can get the charge clash with the Order of Crimson Towers, you can use it on your impacts, or you can use it on your clash to do a bunch of damage. This is kind of like something you will have to play with and learn when to use it. I've really found rounds 4, 5, and 6 are the 3 rounds where a lot of stuff is happening, and round 5 or 6 is kind of like when you're going to use it the most, for every once in a while, depending on what's going on in the game. But you want to get the most out of it, and I usually declare it defensively for my Ashen Dawn to give them that hardened 1 so they have another turn of survivability to get rid of Cleave. And then if my Crimson Towers get in there and do damage, great. If they don't, that's fine. I have the Ashen Dawn around longer than they like, you know, I have them around like a turn longer than maybe they would, and it really pisses off my opponents.
Yeah.
So I don't rank this one as highly as the Imperial Officer or the Chapter Mage. I've just gotten good at it because it's like feats for War Machine, what I did all the time for like 8 years. So I understand how to use it and when to use it. So I kind of put it up there. I probably put him alongside the Mounted Noble Lord because he's only affecting your warband, but the units he's affecting, especially the Order of the Ashen Dawn, is the best unit in 100 Kingdoms. So it's a real big benefit to that unit. So I would kind of put him around the Mounted Noble Lord, Chapter Mage level of power.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's, I mean, here's the bottom line. You're using this because you got Ashen Dawn.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Ashen Dawn are fucking terrifying right now. There's really... Like, I only run units that are out, and that I own. I have proxied 1 or 2 times for test purposes, full disclosure, because otherwise I know one of my many enemies will come on and call me out saying that I'm a liar and a cheat and a hypocrite, and that's simply not true. I have an incredible amount of integrity in everything that I do, and this is no exception. But nonetheless, as somebody who generally only plays stuff that they have, it's rough out there against the Ashen Dawn playing as anything that doesn't have some staying power because they are very tough and they hit hard.
Yeah, they clap some cheeks. Is one of your enemies Santa Claus? Why do I feel like one of them is just Santa Claus?
In what regard? Yes, I mean in the sense that anyone that seeks to preserve the childlike sense of wonder in the spirit of the world is my nemesis inherently.
Oh You're just killing like the Santa Claus, the Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy. You're just like, fuck these people.
Yeah. I'm just if you want to imagine what I look like, imagine a shadowy figure holding a bunch of iconic hats and ears in a room full of blood.
Do you have like a chain and like the ears and like hats and beards are like pierced through the chain and it's like it's like
exactly.
You're like
I'm the leather face of whimsy.
Oh my god, that's fucked up, but I'd watch that movie. Alright, let's talk about the Santa Claus of 100 Kingdoms, the Theist Priest. In this motherfucker's Supremacy ability. It's called Spirit Shrines. Once per battle, spellcasting actions performed by a character stands with the Priest X special rule, targeting the regiment this warlord is currently attached to. Also affect all friendly regiments with the Devout special rule on the battlefield. Okay, I had to make sure that it said friendly, because I was like, if this fucking affects Dwag Wardens, I'm gonna lose my mind. Should the character stand cast Divine Sanctuary, all friendly regiments with Devout special rule benefit from its effects, but do not perform a dual action. So, let's talk about I would put this as the worst Supremacy for 100 Kingdoms, because the Noble Lord is always on, and sometimes you touch a friend, but at least it's always affecting the unit he's in. The Theist Priest, you have to declare that you're going to activate it, so your opponent knows it's happening. You're probably going to be running 2 Theist Priests, because the Theist Priest Warlord is going to cast Divine Sanctions on himself, because it's a self-ranged spell. And that's going to put Cleave and Deadly Blades on every single unit that has Devout. And then the second Theist Priest is going to cast Blessed on his unit, what's going to affect all regiments that have Devout. So if you have a Priest in a regiment, it automatically gets Devout. And you can take a Neophyte on Men-at-Arms to give them Devout. And you can take the Mantle of St. Nicholas, what's a heirloom, and put it on, let's say, an Imperial Officer in a unit of Steel Legion, and they'll get Devout. So, my issue with this is multi-layered. It's that to get Devout on things that don't contain priests is very expensive and adds up pretty quickly. I'm just gonna go, where's the unit of Men-at-Arms? How much is a Neophyte? 15 points. So you're spending 15 points to give Men-at-Arms a chance of once per game cleave and deadly blades and blessed per unit of men-at-arms. And it adds up after all point-wise. The Mantle of St. Nicholas adds up point-wise. You're limiting yourself on other things you can take, like you're no longer getting seasoned veterans for Bastion on those men-at-arms, but I'm not really buffing men-at-arms up to begin with. It's very obvious when this is happening, and your first 2 cards are going to be the 2 Theist Priests in your list to get all these buffs onto everything. And while that's happening, your opponent will look at the table, look at all the other things you're doing, and has a choice of things they want to do, and they have 2, sometimes 3 turns to do, like 3 activations to do this. They either start backing up all their regiments outside of charge class range of all your men-at-arms, all your Steel Legion, all your Order of the Sword, whatever thing you're going to do. Or they look at your Theist Priest regiment and go, I think 2 units of Bow Chosen can kill the Warlord Theist Priest right now. And then they kill him. Now, the Supremacy doesn't go away, but if you lost the roll-off, your opponent's Bow Chosen goes, kills half the unit, and then you cast Divine Sanction to get Cleave and Deadly Blades, and then the second Bow Chosen using finally kills off that Warlord Theist Priest. Well, now you have a priest that can cast Bless on and affects only one thing, and it's like, shit.
Yeah.
It's very telling. There's ways to handle it. Like, it's very simple. Just back up and just let your opponent blow the turn off, and then you hit them next turn.
Well, that's the big difference between the Spirit Shines and the First Blessing to me, is that if the player, like if your 100 Kingdoms opponent busts off the Spirit Shines, it's like, so you take a combat withdrawal, you maybe take 6 wounds, worst case scenario, but probably you're going to take a couple. You walk out of range, and now they have to blow their whole turn getting back into you, and they don't get anything that really benefits them out of the deal. But with the First Blessing, like...
just go time, baby.
Well, yeah, if I retreat out of your horses, I'm just setting myself up for more fucking impacts. And you're gonna get them because I can't outpace you the way that I potentially can against an infantry unit. So,
well, even if you're not,
you kind of just have to, if you're playing it right as the 100 Kingdoms player, like, I just have to take my medicine when you bust off the First Blessing. But if you bust off the Spirit Shines, it's just like, okay, well, see you in a turn.
Yeah, you just go take a break. You're like, hey, I'm gonna go get a drink. Just move back all my guys like 5 inches and we'll be good.
I have healing, so we can do this.
Yeah, because I have done, like, we had a game, I think it's like the 8th battle report, where I busted off Spirit Shrines, gonna go full bore, and you're like, alright, my Huskarls are gonna activate, and they don't move, and I'm like, oh fuck, now you're like 9 inches, like, now you're like a 6 for the charge, like, you're supposed to come closer, or you're like, oh, I just double march back, and I'm like, oh, now you were like a 3+ for the charge, now I can't, I have to march, and then I lose, I'm like, oh no. And it's like, yeah, you might have to give up that point, but you're gonna be closer to your opponent, who can then just go and charge you next turn. And the things that are getting Spirit Shrines, Militia, because the Theist Priests are sitting in them, maybe you moved a Theist Priest into a Steel Legion unit, Men-at-Arms, like, they don't have very, like, their survivability is very low. Like, Defense 2 with a shield, Defense 3, it's very swingy and very low, and any little bit of cleave, or if you, like, side charge them, it goes away instantly. And, like, I've watched 4 stands of Men-at-Arms be, like, evaporated by stuff, and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. Like, there's no survivability to you. 4 wounds with D2 with a shield, like, God. That's why you're 105 points.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, one activationing unit of Men-at-Arms and MSU of Men-at-Arms of the Dinosaur, it usually makes up for the loss that I'm taking to do that.
Just get some
it just
stats
feels
along
good.
The way. Yeah.
It just feels good to watch 12 human souls evaporate in a sea of dinosaur teeth.
God. Yeah, that's 100 Kingdoms. I would say Imperial Officer number 1. I'd actually, I think you kind of build for it, like Priory Commander of Crimson Tower, Chapter Mage, Mountain Noble Lord, then Theist Priest. There's your line. That's what I view as the best to worst for these. And Theist Priest, go fuck yourself. Noble Lord, you're slightly better than that because at least you affect something every turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. But overall, I mean, the good ones are so good that makes up for it.
Oh, it really does. Spires?
Spires. This is a quick one.
All right, Biomancer.
Yeah, so I don't know. You want me to read these ones off?
Sure.
So Biomancer, provoke instability. Until the end of the round, when performing a clash action with a friendly regiment, bullet point number 1, if it is an infantry regiment, all stands in the regiment add +2 to their attack characteristic and suffer the Decay 3 special rule. Bullet point number 2, if it is a cavalry or brute regiment, all stands in the regiment add +3 to their attack characteristic and suffer the Decay 3 special rule. And lastly, if it is a monster regiment, all stands in the regiment add +4 to their attack characteristic and suffer the Decay 6 special rule.
I have a couple questions about this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever seen it played.
Nope.
I also think it's an active supremacy, so you're told about it ahead of time. It just gives them more attack, so +2 to their attack. So, like, if it was Force-Grown drones, they go from, like, attack 5 to attack... they go attack 3 to attack 5 now. And they suffer Decay 3, and it's per stand?
Yeah.
So they would suffer 3 dice per stand. Does Decay cause resolve?
No.
Okay. I've seen Force-Grown drones just fucking explode from this.
Yeah, it seems like the value seems to be in the monster regiment just because you're at most suffering Decay 6, whereas you're suffering a minimum of Decay 9.
Yeah.
With even an MSU, so
it's like the K9, you could fuck this up really hard and just like
oh yeah,
break yourself.
One bad roll and you're just
but I think the K is on a 5 and 6. You take a wound. It's a third of a chance. So it's like mathematically you only take 3 wounds off the K9, like an MSU. But what actually happens is you usually take like 7 of these and half your unit's wiped out.
Yeah, I mean, it's even taking burnout on Warbread, like, it seems like it's not gonna... It doesn't suck until it does. Like, you'll have... It's swingy, right?
Yeah. I don't know, maybe their attack should increase to deal with the decay, or maybe they should drop the decay down to 2 for each of those, and the decay on the monster down to, like, 5 or 4 or something. Like, it doesn't seem like the benefit you're getting is also helping with the payoff, because one of the Spires' problem is they have a lack of like armor breaks and like cleave, and just more attacks doesn't really solve that. Like,
yeah, I would say that maybe if it's on like even giving cleave on the cavalry or brute, like giving cleave 1 would probably.
Oh yeah,
just because they have so limited like that. I don't know. Somebody's gonna tell me I'm overdoing it.
Oh, whatever.
But I think that's pretty fair.
I don't know.
Overall.
Would brute drone stock go up if this said instead of +3 +3 to their attack characteristics, they got like cleave 1 or 2 for decay 3?
Yeah, I think that would probably make them seem a lot more appealing without me scrolling down and looking at their stats.
Yeah, they got their clash 2 with flurry, so if they inspire to clash 3 with flurry and cleave like 1 or 2, like the fucking brute drone's doing work at that point.
Yeah, like cleave 2 with flurry is like
clash 2. It's not that great.
Even at clash 2 with flurry is pretty potent. I would say that probably cleave 2 is maybe in the crazy zone. Just whatever. Yeah. I think cleave 1 is probably more reasonable, but I think that would maybe make this a little bit better. The infantry units for the most part are chaff, so they should get chaff weapon profiles as well. So maybe more attacks for them. Like, I think it just needs more to be more appealing. Like, more of the good and less of the bad.
Yeah. Or maybe this thing should, like, everyone just heals a fuck ton.
yeah, that would be good, too. There's a few different ways that you could balance it, but...
Yeah, because the Biomancer's whole thing is healing.
Yeah, I don't really know enough to have an opinion. beyond that, but it seems a little flat.
Yeah, I don't really see this guy as a warlord very often. A lot of guys I see warlords are the High Clone Executioner or the Lineage Highborn as warlords.
Yeah.
So let's go talk about the High Clone Executioner because he is a warlord a lot of time. You want me to read this one off?
Sure.
So his Supremacy ability is Coordinated Assault. Once per battle during your first draw command card step of this round, draw and resolve the first 3 command cards of your command stack as one draw, instead of drawing 1 command card. Draw 3 command cards, resolve the actions of each regiment, fully resolving each command card before moving on to the next, before your opponent draws their next command card. These activations may not result in any further drawings of command cards from your command stack. If their rules would normally allow you to do so, ignore that rule entirely. I think this is the best Supremacy in Spires.
Yeah, it's really strong, but it does require you to sort of have an idea of when to pop it, but it's also
It can be really devastating when you do.
just get a huge amount of value if you've built your stack the right way, and
if
you're set up for it.
Yeah, if you are lined up, so if let's say it's turn 5, all your stuff is lined up to like, okay, whoever goes first, you're gonna like charge, clash, like you're gonna cascade back and forth between your opponent. You declare your Supremacy, and your opponent goes, okay. And even if they win the first activation and charge something and clash it, you then just pop this, and hopefully, like 2 out of those 3 things go off, and maybe even you picked right and 3 of them go off, and you just do a ton of damage to your opponent before they get to react or resolve anything. I've seen this go off really well where my opponent set up a bunch. Back in the 1.51 days, you could actually draw into a Biomancer, I believe, who would then draw another 3 cards for a bunch of different stuff, and like you'd basically draw your entire deck before your opponent played if you won like the go first roll.
That's hideous.
Yeah, and that's why they put in that part at the end of you can't draw more cards off of it because it was pretty ridiculous.
Oh.
But even then, just getting 3 activations done out of the way, like you can just charge, clash 3 things and wipe out a lot of stuff on your opponent's side. If you're playing into this and you know it's happening, get your anvils, get your speed bumps or your tar pits, get them up there and in the way so that when your opponent does declare this and draw their first card, you know that the things they're hitting are the things you want to take the hit, and you keep your hammers safe in retaliation when it's your turn.
Yeah.
So there is counterplay to this. But man, if your opponent coordinates assault really well, doing a lot of work.
The thing is, if they declare it though, and you win, like if you win the Supremacy and they pop it, you probably are going to see what's what it's going into. So, in the sense that it does require some setup, it's not the most obvious Supremacy in the world, but they are going to kind of telegraph their intentions before it actually hits.
Yeah. I played Aspire games where my opponent popped this off, and I was just like, here's a bunch of my anvils. Go chew on that for a while, and I'll wait until you're done.
Yeah. That takes us to the Lineage Highborn, I guess.
Yep.
So Legacies of the Ark. When creating your army, select one Lineage Highborn or Mimetic Assassin character stand in your army. That character stand may select up to 3 mutations at no additional point cost instead of purchasing the number listed in their army list entry. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active regardless of whether the character stand is currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed.
So you get 3 upgrades?
Yep.
That's okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can, like... I feel like I haven't looked at the upgrade, like the mutations for Spire stuff in literally years at this point, but I remember when I was looking at it more, like you could build some pretty ridiculous stuff. I think this is one of those ones where if you really dive into it, you can probably build some silly things that aren't necessarily the most like the tournament effective, but will like to produce a feels bad moment for your opponent, which is ultimately your goal as a Spires player.
Is to make everyone hate you more because you play Spires.
To create one turn that makes that person want to quit the game.
Yeah, perfect. One thing I do want to say for a mutation is Pheromantic Overdrive. This draw event can only be resolved once per battle. Target friendly regiment within 6 of the character stand may perform a free additional out-of-sequence clash, volley, or march action. I've had this used against me, especially when this was the Supremacy Legacy of the arc, where my opponent was like, I'm going to Ferromantic Overdrive. I'm going to march my Incarnate Sentinels with my character up additional, like, 6 or 7 or whatever, how speed they are. And then you're going to do something, and I'm going to draw that Incarnate Sentinel and charge clash you. And I was like, yay, this is exactly what I want.
Yeah.
So there is some stuff here in Mutations. It's just a lot. You got to do a lot of reading to figure out what you're going to take and how you're going to use it.
Yeah, it's deep, but it's hard to really say how good it is because it really depends on, I guess, what you can squeeze out of it. I would say out of the two that precede it, it's better than Provoke Instability, but probably not as good on a linear basis as Coordinated Assault.
Yeah. Next one, the Mimetic Assassin. Can't be a warlord, doesn't have a Supremacy.
Yeah, but you can give it some stuff through the Lineage Highborn's Legacies of the Arc.
Yeah, it is nice for it. Then we finally get to the last character inspires, the Ferromancer with Suppressing Survival Instinct. While this character stands on the battlefield, all friendly regiments within 12 inches of this character stand may reroll failed resolve tests. The Supremacy ability is considered to be active. Yeah, that's not very good either.
This stinks. That's a bad ability for, that's just...
Like, I think it's worse than the Biomancers. Like, because
that's far and away the worst. Because when you have a resolve of 1...
Oh, hold on, I think Force Grown Drones are 2s. No, they're resolve 1. Jesus Christ. Oh my god.
Yeah, like most of your resolves are sitting around the 1 and 2 range. With the character boosting that up, like, it gets a little better, but it's just that ain't gonna save you. Like,
no, it is not.
It's so underwhelming.
It really is, especially because it's like I don't know. It would have a bit more better stock if it was table wide. If the characters on the table, everyone in the list is rerolling their resolve, except it's within 12 of the character. So and some of the scenarios force you to play wide, and you got to run around, and it's just like, okay, well, you could pop this guy in the middle of a scenario element, and depending on where stuff is, you might not even reach another scenario element. So he's just supporting himself in the one he's in, but he's a light. So the fuck do you care putting this guy in a scenario?
Yeah, he's only going in probably 1 of 2 units, which is Force Grown Drones or Onslaught Drones. So they're not like they're gonna. So his block is gonna benefit from it, which is all well and good because it's probably gonna be going up to like a 4 or 5 with rerolls, which is fine. Perfectly fine, but it's going into your most worthless units. Bound Clones are only slightly better. I don't know if you can really even put him in any of his restricted options. You can't. The Abomination of the Brutes, that leaves the Prowlers.
I think he can take a mutation that allows him to become a Brute. I think it's in here somewhere.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Seen it. There's like a special character for it if you want to buy the what is it, Artisan series years ago, but like, I don't...
Dollary dues around.
I think you're really taking this character for their, like, different Ferromancies you do, because some of them are actually kind of good, but I would not make this guy my Warlord.
No, he's a support character. That's a bad... I would say that's probably... I reserve the right to change my opinion as we go through the other Supremacy abilities, but so far this is the worst one in the game.
Okay. I would put the High Clone Executor as the best, Lineage Highborn, Biomancer, and then the Ferromancer. But it's like coming from 100 Kingdoms Supremacies to this, like, ooh, this is rough.
Oh yeah, there's almost like where you're spoiled for options in the 100 Kingdoms. It's very much you're finding you're either just not worrying about what your Supremacy abilities are going to give you, or you're finding the one that's okayest and building around that.
Yeah. And once again, the one that affects the most, the Coordinated Assault, is the best one because it affects the most of your list.
Yeah, but It is an active ability, which I'll get into after we talk about them all. But I think passive ones overall are better than active ones for reasons that I'll get into towards the end. So, if you want the answer to that question, you better stick around. But yeah, it's okay. Legacy of the Ark is okay. The other two, meh.
Meh.
Anyway, I don't want to dwell on it. What are we looking at next?
Dwag, your favorite. Argent Killua, the Righteous Annihilation. For the duration of the battle, increase the march distance of all friendly regiments by 1 inch during the first march action each round. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active. In addition, once per battle, the Argent Killua can activate the Supremacy ability. All friendly command stands add +2 to their attack characteristic until the end of the round. It's not bad.
No, it's perfectly fine. In a different world, it would be a valid option.
The problem is the other Dwag Supremacies put this one down, and I think also the Argent Killua doesn't have a very good warband choice and spells to pick from. Like, people take an Argent Killua for Flame Berserkers, and I don't know if you really want the speed supremacy, because you can just do what a lot of people do, is take the Tempered Sorcerer, get into him, and grab Infernal Automatas and just run those guys.
Yeah, like, you've got plenty of speed even without taking the extra ability. The extra ability is funny because it's like that they become faster baseline troops than most factions in the game at that point, when speed is supposed to be the one thing that they maybe
so
don't have in abundance.
So he's got to be on the table though. So when he comes onto the table, this doesn't trigger because he has to be on the table for it to trigger, and then everyone else will get it for that plus extra 1 inch for their first march action. So it's basically you get your banner for both. And then when you activate it, all the command stands get +2 attacks, and it's like, like I don't know if fine. If you let's say you have a unit of hold warriors and they get 10 attacks for their first 3 stands, then get an initial +2 for 12. Like, that isn't a huge game changer. The speed's really nice, but the
+2 to attacks, I think in a vacuum it's not much, but there's other I think that synergizes with one of their other abilities to make it so that the command stands get a stupid amount of attacks.
It's their army rule.
Pursuit of Alm, I think.
Yeah, I believe that's their army rule. They just, I think they get it when you click on the Argent Killua as your warlord. What does this do? Oh, there's filters.
Ardent Creed.
Don't make me go to the rulebook, oh god.
That's what I'm looking at.
Dwag. I'm just in the online army builder clicking on each
I don't know, there's some way to make it better, but even still, it's not something that you're looking at, so I just want to move on. I don't...
So we got the Pursuit of Alm.
I was skimming it. I don't think this is the right one.
No, I think the hold raise is better. So it's not bad. It's just that there's better options in Dwag with the other characters than the Argent Killua. And also his warband isn't as good as maybe you'd like, because all the other warbands in Dwag are also kind of better.
Yeah.
That's why you don't really see them. Hold Ray. People love the Hold Ray. In the pursuit of the Menomancers. For the duration of the battle, all command stands in this army gain +2 to their attack characteristic. This supremacy is always considered to be active.
So it's just the other one, but better.
Well, you lose up the speed, but I think
you always have the +2 attacks. So.
Yeah, I think it's because of the creeds. The Argent Killua must always be selected. A Tempered Sorcerer must always be selected for a Tempered Creed. The Argent Queen. I think it's the Pursuit of Alm is the Hold Raise army rule. And that basically allows the command stands to duel, and that's why his supremacy abilities give all the command stands +2 attacks, and when they start dueling, they have more damage output. Yeah. Like, the Dragon Slayer command stand going from attack 5 to attack 8 is a little bit of a thing a Chapter Mage does not want to see.
Yeah.
So, like, I think at the start of version 2, when one of our Dwag players was just using command stands to do all the characters out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never played into him with that, but didn't you? And you did not like it?
No, I was not a fan.
No. So there is a build for it, and if you're playing into it, you got to be careful of the command stands. But his is okay. It's a bit better than the Argent Killas, I want to say, because it combines with the army rule a bit better. However, I think we're going to do the Tempered Sorcerer and talk about the Elemental
Puissance.
Is it the Puissance? It's French?
Puissance, yeah.
All right.
It's power.
Read it to me.
Yeah, character stand may perform 2 spellcasting actions each round. The character stand cannot attempt to cast the same spell more than once per round. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So this is a shit ticket machine.
If you're a Dwag player, this is how you print money.
Yeah.
You see this Tempered Sorcerer here? You make him your Warlord. You give him Arcane 3, you put him in Fire School, you give him like the Cathartic Flame so people have to reroll their resolve even on the spellcasting. And you just cast all the two of your fire spells every turn. Yeah. And then you also generate shit tickets with your army rule, and it just prints money and you just fuck everyone to death.
Yep.
But to put it lightly, best Supremacy for Dwag is this one, and it beats the other ones by such a huge margin. Like, yeah, the other Dwag Supremacies that we talked up to this point they're okay. They're not like super amazing, but they're doable. There's uses for them. You can kind of see where you want to go, and then you hit the Tempered Sorcerer, who's just like Fireball, Flame Wall, generate 2 tickets, spend the 2 tickets to not die. Oh, my Argent Killua buddy, my Tempered Steel Shaper buddy, my other Tempered Sorcerer buddy all cast spells. Oh, that's more tickets for me. Spend those to not die. Like, it's just...
hideous.
Yeah, absolutely. This Supremacy would be okay if this Fire School didn't have 3 damage spells. I don't... Because, like, the Earth School has... +2 defense, but cannot march charge. Target cannot perform impacts on 6 charge. Nominate a garrison train. Like, this is all targeting regiments not to kill them, but to stop them. Magma. Nominate a stand of eternity, then they all suffer hits, so there's Eruption with the damage spell. Nominate paint within range. Zonal terrain. You can create terrain, and then target piece of garrisonable terrain causes decay 4. Like, they each have one... Well, Magma has 1 damage spell, and then Earth just has, like, shutdown spells, while Fire School is just 3 straight damage spells, and you pick the one... Like, you're always going to pick Fireball if they're within Fireball range, and then you're going to pick the one that's, like, closer. Is it the Flame Wall if they're that close, or is it... what the heck is this? Coruscation. Or you're going to pick Coruscation if they're that far away, and you're just going to throw out 2 of those... And you're basically going to be... Oh, yeah, you're focused too. So you're going to be rolling 7 dice, 1 automatic success, reroll 2 fails. You're basically going to get 6 or 7 dice, and you're just going to watch people explode.
Yeah.
The juiced Tempered Sorcerer does so much heavy lifting in a Dwag list that it's insane, and the Supremacy ability he has just doubles down on that. Like... Yeah. You can juice a Tempered Sorcerer, and if it casts 1 spell, it really sucks, but you can kind of get in there and maybe get something done and like pull it together. The moment he starts casting 2 spells, it's like, all bets are off, you're losing a regiment a turn.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's obviously the top one. Then we've got the Tempered Steel Shaper with Living Metal. Once per battle, immediately heal every friendly regiment for 6 wounds. Resolve each regiment fully before moving on to the next.
And this one's really good, actually. Because Dwag has no healing except outside of this one Supremacy ability that you have to activate.
Yeah.
Except you get
It's
so much more out of the Tempered Sorcerer compared to everyone else's.
yeah, I mean, this would be a good pick if Elemental Puissance didn't exist. It's good because it's only once, but you
Yeah,
can, if you know when to pop it, you can get a lot out of it.
yeah. Like, if you've lost a stand and they're like 5 wounds and you have a point of damage on another guy, you can like full heal. Like, there's tons of stuff like that. Steel Forge love it. Dragon Slayers get a stand back. They love it. Like, this is getting you 1 to 2 stands back on all your regiments, and it is good. Like, I think it's really solid. The problem is in Dwagholm, the Tempered Sorcerer just does so much more lifting compared to everyone else's Supremacy and their individual output that the Tempered Sorcerer wins by a long shot.
Yeah. I'd say I'd put Tempered Sorcerer at the number 1 Supremacy and everything else at number 10, tied for 10.
I'd put Steel Shaper guy at 9, and Holdray and Argent Kilowatt could be down there because they're like Holdray and the Argent Kilowatt are just too close to each other. Like they're not different enough. Like the +1 movement's nice on that first march.
Yeah,
but it's just separate them out a bit. Like they're really just they're too close. Yeah. Nords. Starting with the Blooded, Call the Hunt. We got while this character's on the battlefield, when selecting a regiment to arrive from reinforcements. God damn. When selecting a regiment to arrive from reinforcements, automatically this round choose 2 regiments instead. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So Bloody gets on the table, and your automatic ends are 2 regiments. Yeah. Mike, what's your thoughts?
It's pretty good. I mean, it has the problem of it doesn't kick in until turn 2, so like I feel like that's fine, but it would almost be it would be better if you were getting that value from it immediately.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. Like it does part of what you want to be doing as Nords is getting your stuff out as quickly as possible. So this does help with that. It doesn't have the limitation of the shaman.
We'll get to the shaman because I've heard very good things about the shaman Supremacy.
Yeah, well, it's it's good. The shaman Supremacy is definitely very good as well. But this, I don't know. It depends on, I guess, how many.
Like I like the Blooded if you're running medium heavy and heavy focused, or like more heavies, more mediums. So that turn 3, you're kind of getting out more stuff if your dice rolls are failing you.
Yeah.
Like if I was running 4 Jotnars, I'd probably look at the Blooded as like 4 or more Jotnars, maybe like 6 or 7. I'd look at the Blooded Supremacy ability to be like, all right, like I want stuff to be coming out turn 3. I really want to force my opponent to eat this. And then turn 4 comes along where everything's a 4 down and 2 more giants come on, and hopefully I get the 4 down on the other 2, and then there's like 6 giants on the table running around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of see his more focused on heavy focus lists for a Supremacy. It can do well in like a lot of mediums as well, just because it's it's another thing on the table.
Yeah,
but
I never really seem to have a lot of problem getting my units on the table. So especially since they've added the auto wins, so the reinforcement enhancing ones are. I don't get a lot of value of them myself, but I guess if your reinforcement dice are not as sweet to you as mine are, then
yeah. I don't know. I see value in it. There's times where I'd probably like it in 100k as myself, so I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It wouldn't be necessarily my first choice out of the options, but it's not bad.
Yeah, it's a good option. Jarl's ability, surprise attack.
It's as good as you make it, because if you can get a lot of flank charges, then it's pretty good. Opportunists is a good rule. Getting an extra attack is nothing to sneeze at.
So We should probably read this off.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I got ahead of myself there. So,
no problem.
Well, while the character stand is on the battlefield, all friendly infantry regiments gain the Opportunist special rule, as well as add +1 to their attacks characteristic while performing a clash action against the flank or rear of an enemy regiment.
Yeah.
Supremacy ability is always considered to be active.
So, yeah, well, he's on the table, so you can kill him out, and this goes away, and he's kind of easy to kill because he usually sits in a unit of, what is it, Raiders, Huskarls. You can get into like Blade, Chosen, and Barshanks and Ufnar now, but it's
if
I feel like there's better supremacies than relying on getting into a flank or a rear for this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so it really depends. Like, if you're good at leveraging the rule, then it has a lot of value, I feel like, just to gain even opportunists. Because that's essentially like a free flank, or not free flank, but free flurry, just for doing something that, is beneficial for you to be doing in the first place. So, I don't think it's as bad as people act like it is, but if you're not good at getting it, then it's not going to be good to you.
Well, it's also is your opponent getting baited in to give you a flank? Are you setting up for it? How's the terrain on the table? Because I don't really, when I play this game, I don't rely on flank charges to get work done. Like, that's not my goal. If it happens, I'll take it, but majority of the time my opponents counter deploy me, and it's like, well, I'm not going to try and burn movement to get around them, because then I'm going to expose my flank during that time, and they'll hit me and kill me, and that I might as well just slam up to them and then have something come up beside them.
Yeah,
but I don't think Nord's staying power allows them to set up those flanks. Like, only the Velks with the Volvo really does.
I don't know. It's like, one thing that I'm coming to grips with as a Woodrune player is just how much I need to, because I used to be like, well, trying to move into flanks and get behind them or outmaneuver them is just giving them more opportunities to charge into me and kill me, but I'm starting to realize that that's maybe not the case if you're a more mobile faction, which for the most part, or not for the most part, but Nords can definitely be. Woodrunes certainly are. So, I mean, there are definitely situations like again, to harp on this because it traumatized me so, the 12 block of Gilded Legion, like, I didn't maximize how I was getting into that, and if I'd taken an extra turn to get into the flank, it potentially could have gone a lot differently there. So I do think that there is a lot of value in flank charging when you're not just inherently getting a lot of 4 clash attacks, which neither of my faction are really getting a ton of. So, but again, it's tough. So it can very easily be a completely worthless supremacy ability if you're not leveraging it.
Yeah, like, I for myself wouldn't put much value into it because that's not how I play. Because I want to be the aggressor, and usually the things I'm hitting that my opponent gives me is their front, so I'm looking at and doing calculations of how much damage I have to do to break through their front instead of their sides, kind of thing.
Yeah. But even as not great as the Jarl Supremacy ability is, it's much better value than Living Legend.
Alright, Conagir, Living Legend. While this character stands on the battlefield, all friendly regiments in this army gain the terrifying +1 special rule if they have performed a successful charge action until the end of the round. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So the nice thing about this is I think it works on your impact attacks and your clash actions, because you just have to make the successful charge. It's
just terrifying 1.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay. Like,
I mean, there's a lot of units that will just straight up ignore that.
There is that, or you won't deal enough damage for it to be really that effective, or the things you'll be fighting are big enough blocks that they're like Resolve 6 going down to 5, and they're saving on 5s anyway, because 6 is always a failure. So it's kind of just
they charged into you, and now you have no ability to get any value from that special roll because you're Nords and you're dead.
Yeah. One thing I have to say about all this so far, I haven't checked out the Shaman of Volva yet, is that their supremacies are like always active as the characters on the table and affect all their regiments. So already Nord's supremacies, I think, are doing better than the Spire ones, some of the 100k ones, all the Dweg ones except for the Tempered Sorcerer. So like already I'm liking these supremacies more than some of the other factions.
Yeah. There's they're a lot wider for the most part than Spires is the most obvious example.
Yeah.
Um
I would say the Conagir Supremacy though is currently the weakest.
yeah, it's definitely the stinker of the bunch. Just the least amount of value to be had there. The Jarl, at least, like, it's tough to get it, but when you do, like, you are going to feel the benefit. Whereas there's a good chance, even if you hit the charge, like, Terrifying One is not going to win the game.
No, and there's times where it's nice. Like, I know I use it on Crimson Towers, and I tell my opponent, "Oh, I'm Terrifying One." They're like, "Okay, well, I'm Resolve for base. There's there's like 5 or 6 stands. They're going up +1 or +2 or whatever," and it's like, oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just like, eh. Or, sometimes they're like, oh, the Resolve 4, there's 6 stands, they're going up to +1 to 5, back down to 4. Like, okay, they're still kind of fine. Like, yeah, Terrifying was there, but it's not the main thing was doing the work. Like, the Brutal Impact 2, the Wedge Cleave 1 was doing a lot of the work. This Resolve check with Terrifying 1 is just icing on the cake, really. And I don't think a Supremacy ability should be icing on the cake. It should be army defining for picking that character. And that's why you see the characters that are being picked are grabbing Supremacy abilities that are army defining.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which brings us to Shaman's Call the Storm. So during your reinforcement phase, choose 2 friendly regiments per round, currently not on the battlefield, and after rolling for reinforcements, to gain the Vanguard special rule. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active regardless of whether the character stand is currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed. So this one is a really easy one to pick. The only thing is, potentially, if your reinforcement rolls are bad, maybe you don't get the maximum value out of it, but with one regiment being an auto-in, you are always getting at least 50% of the value out of it.
Another thing I want to talk about this. Sorry, I should let you go before I
No, go ahead.
One thing I did notice right away, because like after giving the Vanguard, I'm immediately comparing it to the Imperial Officer from 100 Kingdoms.
Yeah.
This does not have an infantry restriction on it like the 100 Kingdoms one.
Yeah.
That's where I think its power comes from, like allowing like Jotnars to run around, cavalry, brutes, all that stuff to get the Vanguard.
Yeah, exactly. It the only potential downside is you can potentially if you're not thinking about how your deployments are going to be working out for those first 3 or 4 turns, then potentially you are just going to Vanguard out a bunch of stuff way too fast and feed it to your opponent. So that, I think, is a trap with mobility for any army, but especially with that ability. But other than that, like, that's an easy one to pick. The only thing is, if you don't, like, you do have to take a shaman for it, which means that potentially you're dedicating some points to putting a mainstay for him to hang out in that is going to be maybe not the best choice. But for what you're getting, there's scenarios where it's worth it. I think we talked about this in another episode, but I think 3 is probably realistically where you top out in the number of characters that you can run without having to make significant compromises in the list that you're building. But if there was ever a case for taking a Super Friends list, it's in the Nords.
Yeah, they have some really good options. I think the Shaman and the Shaman stock is going to rise greatly, because you're going to take White Waste Tribesman as mainstay, and you're going to throw in a White Waste Shaman, who's going to give Enrage and Dominate to different monster regiments. So you could throw this stuff on enemy monsters, your monsters, and then I think you start filling out his warband with Bear Sharks, Mountain Jotnars, Sea Jotnars, Ufnir, like all those stuff that are actually pretty good and fun. And that's really it. Like, you just take one unit of white and you pick the thing you want. and then
The other thing,
the rest of the characters fill out the actual rest of the army list.
yeah, the other thing you can do is because it's forever supremacy, or no matter what supremacy, more accurately, is if you really wanted to, you could take him with sacrificial lamb and a unit of raiders, and just hopefully whip them into something at the right time for them to die, and give everybody else blessed in a way that's really going to annoy your opponent. But that one, it's not something you can plan around 100%, but it's a fun idea.
Make the raiders medium and put them in a zone and be like, fight me.
Yeah,
if I die, all the mountain Jotnars beat you easier.
Yeah, like you can put a if you really want to get crazy with it, you put a captain in the raiders to make them a medium, and then you send them in, you vanguard them in on turn 2 to cap something, and then just wait for somebody to come and take it, and then they die and give everybody blessed, and then hopefully that gives you the momentum to take that point right back, or to do something else really shitty to them. So there's a lot of stuff that you can do with it. I'm the shaman itself. Nords, I don't know. Like out of all of the factions that I have any sort of familiarity with, it seems like Nords are the ones where there's the most good regiments competing for slots, so that's where it becomes hard to take like just a shaman and some raiders when there's so many other things that you could be doing with those points, and that's really the only disincentive, because otherwise it's great.
Yeah, I do think once the White Waste tribesmen come out, Shaman has the perfect unit to sit in, and then you can take a restrictor for a Mountain Jotnar, and he can buff that thing and chase it around while providing his Vanguard buff to the rest of the list, what can be whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
His is really good, especially affecting the monsters, the cavalry, and the brutes. Like, yeah. Should we go on to your Nord love?
Yeah. So my wife, the vulva of my wife. So she does the Gift of the Einherjar. So when this character stand is on the battlefield, all friendly regiments, excluding character stands, add +1 to their evasion characteristic to a maximum of 2. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So this feels better than it is, just because you're just going to get E1 on some stuff, which is fine. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not tremendous. The stuff that you get to E2, it's fine. The nice thing is, if you build your Volva right, you're going to have this ability for the whole game, because she's not going anywhere.
In the block of Velks?
Yeah. But overall, you're better off taking the Shaman or the Blooded. I'd say those are really the top two for this faction. She's a solid choice. Like, you're not going to go wrong with it, but it's not going to make you too much more resilient than you were in the first place. I think mainly the benefit is for, like, Bow Chosen.
Yeah, because that gets them up to that old Evasion 2 with their 5 wounds, and just kind of keeps them around longer than they really have any right to be.
Yeah, and that's nice. But, you know, is that worth a Supremacy slot?
When you have the Blooded Supremacy and the Shamans available to you?
Yeah.
Probably not. To be honest. Like, I would... Like, I'm kind of looking at them. I do like them all, because they do affect everything in your army that is, I think is huge from a Supremacy standpoint. Like
the Blooded probably... So in terms of sheer utility, the Shaman is the best Supremacy ability, but because you're always going to be taking a Blooded. Every single list.
Am I? I just played a Nords game on the weekend where my opponent did not take a Blooded.
Well, I don't know. I have no comment. The Blooded has just... They're a really strong character with every one of theirs. Like, they're restricted, they're mainstays, there's so much competition for what you can take.
The fuck is
I don't know why you
werewolves?
wouldn't take a Blooded.
Jesus. I'm just looking at werewolves really quick. I'm like, god damn, fuck these things.
Yeah. So the fact is, you're almost always going to be taking a Blooded, so it's a solid choice. Shaman is good if you're going to be taking one anyway. It's maybe worth building around, but it depends on how many Jotnars you feel like taking, I guess.
Yeah, I think if you're doing Jotnar spam, you take a Shaman.
Yeah, the Volva would be the one that you would take other than those two, but the the Jarl and the Jonengear, the Jarl and the Congear are
I'm gonna
both
call
just
him
like
Carl from now on. It's like, hey Carl, how's your surprise attack going? Not very good. Yeah, we know.
I mean, Adam a lot, or fuck, I don't remember even what the word is, but like, I think that's where Carl, the name, is derived from. Is the same
Actually?
root as Jarl, yeah.
Oh shit. I'm learning today.
Yeah, that's why there's 8 million units called different spellings of Thanes in this game as well.
We're blooded.
Yeah. but yeah, I don't know. The Jarl and the Conagir, why would you ever... The Conagir especially. The only reason they're not the same is because the Conagir is that bad.
He has a really good warband, though. Because
Yeah, he's worth taking.
Yeah.
Ironically, the king should not be the leader of the war.
No, his living legend just makes people a little spooked, but like other people are like, let's go. Let's get everyone on the table. We gotta fight here.
Yeah, exactly. The other people have their priorities straight.
I would go Shaman, Blooded, Volva, Jarl, and Connie Boy. But I do have to give Nord's props. All your supremacies affect everyone in your army. And I think that just makes it easier that it's an easier choice if you take some of the weaker stuff from Nords.
Yeah, I mean, even the worst ones, if you take them, there's at least a chance you're going to get something out of it.
Yeah. Move on to Wadrun. You get to do a ton of talking here.
Yeah, this one I can speak finally authoritatively too. So, yeah, let's jump right in. So the Matriarch Queen.
It's Chieftain first.
My list has him listed differently here.
Oh, are you on the PDF?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I'm just clicking through the army builder.
Yeah, we can do the Chieftain first.
No, I can do Matriarch Queen, I don't care.
So the Matriarch Queen, her supremacy is the Matriarch walks, so the character stand gains the following draw event and is able to resolve up to 2 different draw events per activation. The supremacy ability is always considered to be active. She gains the draw event, the Matriarch walks. Target friendly infantry regiment within 8 inches of this character stand or monster stand in the case of Apex Master gains the Fanatic special rule until the end of the round.
Yay.
Yeah, so this is almost good. Fanatic is what enables you to get tier 3 chance, which is great.
Oh, okay.
But they've limited it to infantry regiments. So, for instance, it's not going to be going on to your Warbred, Raptors, anything like that with this. Only infantry, so your Blooded, your Braves, Chosen to Conquest.
Oh, now I know why it's almost great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that makes it almost great. The other thing is it's a draw event, so it's on the character. So now you're sacrificing tempo and 100% telegraphing your intentions to gain the benefit of it. It used to be also that you could only still do 1 draw event, so you were choosing between healing or giving something Fanatic.
Yeah, because she has the last breath, which just heals 4 wounds.
Yeah,
with an
now you get to do both, which is fine. But I just feel like, personally for me, using Mantle to guarantee that the one unit that needs it the most gets Fanatic every time, and then just because everything else, like Tier 1 and 2 are really where the most value of the chance comes from. Tier 3 is like, it's all icing on the cake abilities, and they're all great to have, but like, Tier 1 and 2 are really, you want to get into that mindset that they're actually quite good on their own, because they are, and then you don't worry as much about like, oh, how am I going to get Fanatic on this, because for the most part you don't necessarily need it. But with the amount that you have to put into it to get Fanatic on something, I just don't think it's great.
I'm trying to find the Mantle so I can read it.
Mantle is really straightforward. It just gives the attached regiment Fanatic.
Yeah, okay, I see why that's really
And
nice.
Fanatic gives you 1 extra token and unlocks tier 3 chants, so it ensures that you're always doing a chant higher, or almost certainly. or gives you functionally a free chant, because you'll be, if you activate, you produce a chant token, and then when you choose to chant, which there's no threshold to do, then you gain the benefit of a second token, or functionally you have a second token for the purposes of resolving the chant due to fanatics. So even with a single token, you can do a tier 1 chant, but with 2 tokens, yeah.
So it's like ABC, always be chanting.
Yeah, exactly. It's so it helps in that regard as well, but overall, to get it and the limited application that you get with it, and especially because like the other thing is, all the chosen units have fanatic baked in. So if you're running a lot of chosen in the first place, you're losing, like, your hemorrhaging value already in that regard, because they're not going to benefit from the supremacy.
Okay. Yeah, you're probably looking at something else then. So it's not great, it's okay. I would really like to see it work on like the Apex and whatever else can chant for monsters, but especially on the brutes.
I like the one change that I would make to this to do it, to make it work, is that as part of the supremacy ability rules text, is that at the beginning of each turn you name a unit.
Oh yeah, so you're not locked down to something within 8 of her, and also it's a draw event, so you can just do it. Yeah, and that gets into like table wide stuff and like what we've seen it to be really powerful from other faction supremacy.
So I think that would make it more worth considering, but yeah, as it stands, that takes us to the next supremacy, which, as far as I'm concerned, might be one of the best ones in the game.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
So the Chieftain and the Thunder Chieftain get Shock Assault, and it's 1 line of text, and it's some of the sweetest words that I've ever had the pleasure of reading in my life. When this character stand is on the battlefield, all friendly regiments gain the Shock special rule. The Supremacy ability is always considered to be active. Shock is great, so you get +1 to your clash, and then you inspire when you have Shock on the charge. So as long as you're being diligent about setting up your charges as Woodrune, you're getting big hits on every turn. If you're doing impacts, your impact value is increasing. And all you have to do is keep a Chieftain alive. So if you put him in a block of Braves, just 3, you put him in a square, you park that thing on a backline objective, and you just decline to take actions with it as soon as where it needs to be. And then you have Shock for the whole rest of the game. This is so good. There's never a reason not to take it. Even if you're taking a Thunder Chieftain, you don't get it till turn 3. But you know what that means? You just have an incentive to spend 3 turns setting her up.
Yeah, especially for those Thunder Riders who are going to be Clash 4 on Impact 2, and then Clash 4. Was it? You're going to go to 4.
Reroll 6s.
Yeah, 4 rerolling 6s on their attacks, and if they are in like war, they can get to cleave 1. So it's like,
that's massive. Or you can fish for smites on death.
Oh wow, that's exactly what I want to do. Smite fishing.
Yep. But why would you even need to? Because your Thunder Chieftain has Linebreaker and Cleave 2, so like he is the smite.
He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Your shields, go fuck yourself. Bastion, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, this is such a good ability to have. It increases the like hunting packs become a straight up menace when they're Clash 4.
I think you actually like did damage to an Ashen Dawn, like one of the horses for Ashen Dawn. I was like, what the fuck?
Yes, it's so good. There's
Clash 4 with 6 attacks.
Yeah, it's bananas. Even like Blooded, for that matter, 7 attacks at Clash 4 per stand.
Oh,
hideous. It's disgusting. Yeah. That's anything that doesn't have armor is gone.
Is the I think something that should have had higher clash, the Warbread. This fixes the Warbread completely, because then it goes like
Warbread
Clash 4 Cleave 2 done. Relentless Blows done.
And those impacts on them are now like softening them up, so there's value in that too. Like it's Shock Assault is far and away the best Supremacy that the Woodrune have. There's really very little debate. The other two I'll touch on, but this is really the one.
I think the next one is from the next one just below Shock Assault for just sheer value would be the Sign of Conquests. But, yeah, it's sure like the way to deal with Shock Assault is once again like a lot of other Supremacies, especially because the character has to be on the tables to kill the character, and then wait for that turn to be over, and the following rounds after that, you're fine. But if your opponent's doing what Mike has said to do, put the character in a block of Braves, shove him on his own in the back to score it, you're going to take forever before you even get to deal with that character. And even if it's on the Thunder Rider Chieftain, like, fuck me when those guys hit. Like, I think War Thunder Riders is going to be real mean when that starts showing up, because they're going to have the defensive capabilities with their offensive capabilities to just do a ton of work, and they're in the perfect spot to just take War Chance and just push it to 11.
Yeah, it's and especially with there's an artifact that you can take for the Thunder Chieftain that gives 1 unit of Thunder Riders hardened even, so
yeah, because that's exactly what we needed.
Yeah, so that's great. But nonetheless, I can't overstate how good of an ability that is. The other two abilities are actually decent, but in light of Shock Assault, it's really hard to make an argument for them. But the next one is the Predator's ability, which is Thrill of the Kill. So all friendly regiments may reroll their charge rolls this round. In addition, all friendly light regiments gain +3 inches to their charge distance. All friendly medium regiments add +1 to their charge distance, and all friendly heavy regiments gain impact +1.
This is kind of weird. I'm just thinking about the hunting pack that is just fucking zooming across the board with this. So,
yeah. That's the best application of it for sure.
The reroll their charge rolls this round is kind of weird, I want to say, because can you not reroll a reroll? So like if I roll and I have a banner and I fail, and then I reroll the banner's reroll and fail, like does the kill trigger?
No, you don't get extra banner rerolls, but there are quite a few units that can take banners and Woodrunes, so I think the idea is you get a round of rerolls with them.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, the longer I play Woodrune, the more I feel like saying, if you need...
Say it.
If you need that, what that Supremacy is going to give you, you probably may not have planned things ideally. The other thing is the ability itself is going to probably make you inclined to take riskier charges.
Yep.
Or to riskier setups, which I don't think is a good thing. The buff to heavies is worthless. It's essentially non-existent. It's also
gonna be on the Matron Queen. She's a heavy.
Yeah, like it's marginal for the mediums. Lights gain a lot of benefit, but I feel like without impacts, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's fine. It's okay. It's no Shock Assault.
No.
You do also you have to declare it so everybody knows it's going to happen and can.
Oh, is it once per game?
Conduct themselves
all
accordingly.
friends in addition all. This is a declared one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so your opponent knows this is coming for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but I know it's not that great of a Supremacy ability. It affects a bunch of things. Checks that box off. What's really nice. But
it was fun when Sorry?
Like, it checks off, it affects a ton of stuff. Like, it's not narrow and focused in on something. However, it doesn't do enough to really justify it compared to other Supremacies that are available to you in Woodrune.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, so it's it probably needs a buff. It's a little underwhelming in light of even Matrix is probably, I don't know. I guess it's a toss up really.
I would put Matron Queen above the Predator.
Yeah.
Because because you can chant some stuff out if you set it up right. I don't know. You can do stuff with this one too. It's Yeah. They're both kind of down there.
No, I'm not into it. But that takes us to.
Yeah, let's go to the Scion.
Yeah, it's the Scion wrapping it up for these guys. So Vision of Conquest. So until the end of the round, each time you would draw a command card from your command stack. Instead, search your command stack and play a command card of your choice. In addition, until the end of the round, all regiments that would add a chant marker to the chant sequence add a Conquest chant marker instead.
What the fuck? Until the end of the round, each time you draw a command card from your command stack, search your command stack. What the fuck? We playing Magic the Gathering now?
Pretty much, but you get a free Diabolic Tutor for the entire round.
Bullshit.
Because it's good if you're able to pop it at the right time. But if you do, then you get the benefit of using, having total control over your activations for a turn, which is in this game bananas.
Yeah. This is once per game because it's until end of round. So this is an active one, so you let your opponent know, and they know that you're going to be doing whatever the fuck you want with your command deck.
Yeah, but I think when you have that kind of control over how the round plays out, it really doesn't matter if they know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they know that you do whatever you want. Yeah, I think when you declare this, you don't even start your deck. You just throw it on the table and you're like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Because the Supremacy lasts until the end of the turn that the character died, so you don't even care if the Scion dies after you declared it.
Yeah,
you're doing this.
Yeah, and so it also turns all of your chant markers in the turn into Conquest chant markers, which is fine. Like it's a nice bonus, but
if you all chants would add a current marker to Conquest, add a Conquest marker. So instead, are you forced to choose a Conquest? Are you forced to keep? Let's say you had Death and you wanted to get your Smite out, but are you forced to move them all to Conquest now?
No, because Conquest.
Because
Conquest is the wild card chant. So and this is where it gets it makes sense as a mechanic, but it's just hard to explain to an intuitive way to somebody who's not actually doing. I call it the mind game because you have to do a bunch of like floating, like chant token operations that don't actually exist in the real world. They just produce a real world outcome. So like a Conquest is a wild card. In the sense that you trade it when you're performing the chant for whatever of the other three chants that you want it to be. So, like, let's say I have a Death and a War and a Conquest in the sequence, and I trigger the chant, I can turn that Conquest into a War or a Death, and then I have a tier 1 of either one of those, would be an example. But if you want to chant Conquest, you don't use Conquest tokens for that. You have to use like any combination of different tokens. So if you had a Death and a War, you could chant tier 1 Conquest. If you had Death, War, War, you could chant tier 2 Conquest. If you had Death, War, Famine, you could chant tier 2 Conquest, etc., etc.
So anything can go into Conquest?
Yeah, any two. Like it has to be two different ones. So if you had 2 Deaths, you could only chant Death.
But if I had a Death and a War, I could be like, all right, we're going to Conquest Town.
Yeah. So that's the mind game.
Fucked up. I'm like from The Hangover when he's like doing all the math for the roulette table or blackjack or poker, and it's like all the numbers are flying by my head. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah, it's complex because it needs to be, but the outcome can be explained in a way that none of the computation is necessary for anyone else but the one room player. So that's where it gets kind of weird, because it's like when I'm explaining it to somebody, I'm just like, oh, I have these tokens, I chant Conquest, because I'm leaving out the 7 steps that I had to do in my head to make it possible to chant Conquest there. And I'm just I'm hoping that you'll just trust that I'm being legitimate, which I am. But
it's like you're with Drew and you're like, well, I gotta attend my AA meeting and do the 7-part chant so that I can go my path of health. It's like, what the fuck is happening? Did you join a cult? Just the cult of famine?
Until our LGS gets a whiteboard and dry erase markers so I can do the equations on the board, then
I can bring one.
We'll just have to trust.
Mount it to the wall, be like, all right, what's going on? Turn what? I kind of like Visions of Conquest, even if it's like generating Conquest tokens. I like the fact that you can just like slap your deck down and be like, I'm gonna play with my deck face up basically, and just figure out the fuck I need to do each turn whenever I want to for this round.
Yeah, it's got a lot of power. I would like to mess with it more. The couple of times I've taken it, I haven't used it well, so whatever.
I think as more chosen come out, it's gonna really affect that. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I'm running an all cults list, which is a very real risk.
Those chosen conquests coming out. I can't wait for like Death, War, and Famine to also be out.
Yeah, I also can't wait to have good units.
Is that the dream? Good units.
Yeah, that is my personal fantasy for this game. But yeah, so overall, I think Shock Assault is almost an auto pick. You can't go wrong with Vision of Conquest. The other two, you can make them work, but
Chieftain is so easy to do no matter what.
Yeah, Chieftain is brain dead, and it's so good. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's like if you're new to Vadroon or you're a medium experienced player, just fucking slap that Chieftain down, slap that Thunder Rider Chieftain down. You're printing money with that Supremacy ability, and I would put that up for contender of best in the game. Like the Chieftains. 100%. He has to beat the 100k Vanguard. Probably can do it because he affects so much more of the list, while the Vanguard only affects the infantry. But like that infantry Vanguard is super good. Yeah, Nords overall, I'd rate them like a solid like B plus, kind of like A minus, because they all their supremacies affect the entire list. I don't want to put like Dwag up there, but the Tempered Sorcerer supremacy, just for all the things it affects and what it layers, is way up there with the 100k one and the Wadroon one.
Yeah.
I don't think the Spires and like the Coordinated Assault from Spires is a contender. It's not. It's good. It's strong, but there are times where like you activate and it doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with some of these supremacies. I guess we'll talk about more when we get to the end, but let's go on to Old Dominion, and then we have City States, and then we can chat about the whatever fucking else we want to chat about for supremacies.
Yep. Yeah, so I mean, hopefully, I feel like we've covered most of the things that I wanted to talk about.
We talked about the fun factions.
Yeah, just to kind of circle back and summarize though at the end. But so I guess we're doing the Old Dominion now.
Yeah, the Archimandrite. So this guy's got Scholar of the Profane. This character stand may perform 2 spellcasting actions each round. This character stand cannot attempt to cast the same spell more than once per round. This Supremacy ability is always considered to be active. In addition, once per battle, the Archimandrite can activate the Supremacy ability. Until the end of the round, this character stand may reroll any number of dice when performing a spellcasting action. I have seen some good things come out of this. There is the Gatling gun kind of build out of this guy, where he ends up with like he's Priest 9 re-rolling everything and just shooting out what the fuck is it? Dark Immolations? Is it this one? Turbine Gene's Orb of Death? Nope. Blasphemous Power? Is this one?
It looks like Unholy Baptism.
Yeah, this is the kill spell. Yeah, here we go.
Or Hazlia's Touch.
Yeah, Unholy Baptism, where it's like the armor piercing 1 and affects 1 hit per success, and you just basically chug out like 9 to 10 of these or something. Like, it's freaking huge. And then what does Hazliel's Touch do?
Oh, Hazliel's Touch is a heal. Sorry, I thought it was a hits.
And then you heal. Yeah, so his supremacy is very similar to the Tempered Sorcerer ones, except it's more tame because he's not popping off 2 kill spells.
Yeah,
like
he's not getting the buff.
Yeah, the defensive buff.
So I mean,
yeah, all his stuff is just support and healing after the machine gun of Unholy Baptism.
Yeah, like it has utility, but it's not an out of control death. Death dealer the way that Elemental Puissance is.
No, like this is a more controlled Elemental Puissance because the spell selection is more controlled.
Yeah, I mean it's solidly okay, but I feel like there's got to be better options in the faction. But I don't know for sure, so we're gonna find out.
Yeah, that's why we're looking at it all. All right, Fallen Divinity, the best name for Supremacy ability, surrounded by fear and dead men.
Yeah.
This Supremacy basically explains how this thing works.
Yeah.
A Fallen Divinity must always be the Warlord. A Fallen Divinity is considered to be a regiment by itself, in addition to it being a character stand, and therefore uses all the relevant regiment rules as if it was a monster regiment. A Fallen Divinity activates as if it was a regiment, performs 2 actions per activation, and has access to all out-of-combat actions as a regiment has. In addition, the Fallen Divinity may also use a duel action and may not refuse a duel from an enemy character stand. However, the Fallen Divinity is not affected by the effects of Dark Power Pool. The Fallen Divinity may not join another regiment and does not need to include a monster regiment in its warband to enter the battlefield. The Fallen Divinity does not need to include any regiment in its warband. It just explains how it works.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it there's like a sub rule here where a Fallen Divinity can only have 2 regiments in its warband. Your army cannot contain more than 1 Fallen Divinity. And I think, yeah, it has flank. You could actually get the Fallen Divinity out like turn 2 if you really wanted to. It's not forced to come out turn 1. Because you can just flank it and just keep it in your reserves.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep it safe. Maybe that's the play with the Fallen Divinity. But yeah, Surrounded by Fear and Dead Men just explains how this fucker works. That's it. So, there's not really much else to explain about it. It's your Warlord. It explains how it works.
I mean, if you want to use a Fallen Divinity, you're taking it.
Yeah, you gotta. So, Hierodeacon then?
Yeah.
Where is it? Oh, he cannot be your Warlord. Skip.
Yep. So I guess...
then we get the Mounted Strategos and the normal Strategos, who have the same supremacy, what is Glimmer of a Golden Age. The army may reach Dark Power Empowerment Tier 4, as described in the Empowerment section of the rules. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active, regardless of whether the character stands currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed. Really nice. You know it's always on. In addition, once per battle, Strategos can activate the supremacy ability. Until the end of the round, all friendly regiments in this army count the current empowerment tier as 1 tier higher, and each friendly regiment may perform a free additional reform or combat reform during their activation. It's not bad.
It's the counting as 1 tier higher is fine. Tier 4 seems whatever.
I'd have to go back to look at tier 4, but like I don't.
It's just so you suffer 1 additional wound for each failed resolve roll of 6. So it's exploding 6s on morale. And,
okay.
That's
it.
Yeah, that's about it. So, not really. I mean, I don't think it's worth blowing a supremacy slot over.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't make this guy my Warlord.
The reform and the combat reform, like if you do that, it's good, but that's not my style.
Well, the funny thing about Old Dominion is that they can't take the inspired action. So a lot of the time, the Old Dominion players just clash, and then it's just like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I just clash. It's like, well, you could just reform.
Yeah.
So you can kind of do that already if you really want to, or you can clash.
But now you can double reform.
Yeah, you can double reform, then move, get going.
Yeah.
Strategos is the same thing. Yeah, I don't really put it that high. Ziliarch, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah. So the Ziliarch, I don't know. Obdurate Bone and Stone. The army may reach the Dark Power Empowerment Tier 4 as described in the Empowerment section of the rules. Supremacy is always considered to be active regardless of whether the character stand is currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed. In addition, once per battle, a Ziliarch can activate the Supremacy ability. Until the end of the round, all friendly regiments in the warband may perform a free additional clash action during their activation. The Supremacy ability allows a regiment to effectively clash twice this round. So, Dark Empowerment Tier 4 is kind of whatever, but that's a much better ability.
Yeah. Like that double clash, but it's only on his warband. However, he can take Varangi Guard, and you can take 2 units of Varangi Guard who can just be like, alright, I charge. or like I march charge and then I clash, or I charge clash, and you'll get a lot of work done that way.
Yeah, it's very nasty. If you can, it's a set up a turn for it type ability, but if you can, I
It's
don't want
good.
to get clashed twice as a Rune player.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think anyone wants to be clashed twice by like Varangian Guard.
no.
Centaur Pro B, whatever the hell. Oh, this is the late cav. Yeah, it's really just Varangian Guard. And maybe some Praetorian Guard, what he's sitting in, because he'll clash twice, and you can make the Zilliarch be a combat monster.
Yeah.
There's not much really going on for supremacy abilities for Old Dominion, surprisingly. Like, I thought there would be really more, but looking at it, I don't value the Strigos. Like, I think his is the worst. Hierodeacon doesn't have one. Fall Divinity just explains how it works, so if you're taking a Fall Divinity, you're taking this one. The two I put value in are the Archimandrite and the Zilliarch, and I kind of want to say I value the Archimandrites more because of that Haziel's touch to heal a unit within 12 and also shoot off their unholy Batmus gun at like Priest 9 or 10 or whatever, and he can just do that every turn as long as he stays alive and he's a medium character we can store. While the Zilliarch, it's only an additional clash for his warband. And if you don't set it up right, you lose it because you have to declare it at the start.
Yeah. I've seen people talk about that healing is a trap for Old Dominion, and that perhaps is true, but it seems like the other utility spells potentially have, like... So there's another one that you can give them Flurry and Decay 2. Flurry, as we've discussed, is a very good ability, so I think that's almost worth the risk. That's like a shittier burnout at that point.
But because it's Flurry and a lot of things don't have Inspire, like Legionnaires, like rerolling their 2s to get hits, or like really throw that on fucking.
Listen, man, I use 1.5 blooded. I know how it goes. No, but yeah, it's 50-50. What's the other one? Dark Immolation. Target friendly regiment gains Aura of Death. You could probably fuck around with that.
There was like an Aura of Death build, I think, back in 1.15. I think it's kind of gone down a bit since the changes to Aura of Death, but yeah, you can just run around with Bone Golem. Can he take Bone? Yeah, this guy can take Bone Golems. Didn't the hero can take Bone Golems? No, he can take the Bronchi guys, the heavy brutes. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's Bone Golems. Fucking Christ. The Minotaurs in Old Dominion, Cleave 3.
Jeepers.
Jesus. Evasion 2. God damn these fucking things. God damn. So yeah, I kind of put more stock in the Archimandrite and Zilliarch if you're really going to look for supremacies, but if you're ever taking a Fallen Divinity, you have a Fallen Divinity now.
Yep.
Yeah, enjoy your fallen life. I don't really say any of these guys are the contenders to be in like the top supremacy of the game. They're okay. I like the Archimandrite more, but
just if they could make tier 4 a little more appealing, then that would probably fix a lot of it. But
yeah,
as it stands currently, like tier 4 is just whatever. It's fine. Like, you're not going to turn down a small bonus, but you're not going to.
If you don't have it, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
It's not.
You're never like, oh, I lost the game because I didn't have exploding 6s on morale.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel at that point you should just. You got to tier 4 Dark Power. Time to blow up the world.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much Dark Power floating around here. Like, Jesus.
Yeah, it should be pretty crazy if it gets up to.
All right, should we get on to... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No, let's move
on. Talking about the Dark Power. City-states?
Yeah, city-states. So I guess we're just going to cover the
3.
Yeah.
So we have the guy I call the Aristocrat, but he's the Aristarch, as I've been told. His supremacy is Infantry Tactics. I've seen this one used, and I kind of like it. And I'll talk about why I like it after, but... While this character stands on the battlefield, when a friendly regiment activates by drawing its command card from your strategic stack, That regiment adds +1 to its march characteristic until the end of the round. In addition, when any friendly infantry regiment performs a withdrawal action, they do not have to perform facing away from the regiment they are withdrawing from. Instead, the regiment may perform a backwards march, moving up to their full march distance rather than half. When an infantry regiment performs a withdrawal action, they do not roll a die. They automatically perform a clean withdrawal. The supremacy ability is always considered to be active. So when he gets on the table, he's on. I like this one because it's +1 march characteristic from the strategic stack, and it affects anything. Like anything you draw from the strategic stack. So that can be your Minotaur Hespians, your Minotaur Thyrians, the Promethean, the whatever. Where's the Trident boy? The Hepatestian, the Trident Strike guy.
Tastian.
Like one of the things I see with Old Dominion city states and their infantry, like their Hoplite and their Phalanges and their Thoraces, is that they have no banners, so they're a bit slower. But infantry tactics kind of shores up that little bit of speed because you draw from it, you get +1 march, you double march, and you go from, instead of having a banner, like let's say you're movement 5 going to 11, they're going 12. So they get that little extra reach. And when you just go that charge with them, they go up from speed 5 to 6, and then they go their charge from there. I know you can take like lighter alloys and stuff. Inscription of lighter alloys to gain the mobility draw event, so you lose a bunch of defense and you increase your march characteristic by 3 until the end of the round. And on top of the infantry tactics, you go to like +4. You slap that onto like some hoplites, so they just go like 9 and they charge 9 plus d6. Like you can go pretty fast.
Plus, with the with the second part of that ability, it occurs to me that what you can do there is strategic stack your guys who are already in combat, then pop them, have them withdraw, back up. What, 12 inches?
They hold on. Let me just look at it
because the
again.
march. It's a march within the when you do a withdrawal.
You
There's a
spin
mark
180
action within the withdrawal, but in this case, you don't spin the 180, so you back up 12 inches, and now you're in march charge territory.
So when you would normally withdraw, you would spin 180 and move your march distance, and that would be a withdrawal action. This withdrawal action is you back up your full march just backwards, so it'd be your like 5 inches or your 6 inches if you pull them from the strategic stack. And then your second action, you would just
do another 6-inch move.
Or
like no, it would be 3
You couldn't.
inches.
It would be 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. However, that does open up the space for something else to charge in there if need to be.
Yeah. Or just to make them have to, because that's still going to be a march charge.
Yeah. Well, 9 away, your opponent's 5, so they're looking for like a 4. Yeah. I just hate things like I have to roll that fucking dice to get the charges successfully. A lot of times I've just been like, all right, I march charge, and then my opponent's like, okay, I'm gonna hit you. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. It's Ashen Dawn. I'm setting up for everything else so that they can just charge and clash you later.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of potential there. Like you can kite them with it, or you can force, like you can lower at least the quality of their attacks by making them march charge. So that way they've got to win supremacy to take, to do any sort of damage.
Mm-hmm.
Or else they're just in a cycle of catching up to you. Like obviously that's not going to work with Cav, but I think against some
infantry stuff,
there's a case for that.
Yeah. So our next supremacy is from the Mechanist, Carrier of the Godflesh. I don't know what the fuck this
is
is.
The same one for the Eidolon too.
Is it? Oh, okay. Well, look at that. Do you think he keeps the Godflesh in a cooler? Like, just buy him? It's just like, he carries it around on the battlefield. It's like, he's got his beers in there with the Godflesh.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how he's modeled. So his supremacy is, while this character stands on the battlefield, when a friendly regiment activates by drawing its command card from your strategic stack, that regiment gains the Hardened +1 special rule and reduces their march characteristic by 1 until the end of the round. Wow, that sounds great. This supremacy ability is always considered to be active. In addition, during list building and for the duration of the battle, friendly clockwork hoplite regiments change their class to medium, regardless of whether the character stands currently on the battlefield or having been destroyed. I think this guy's gonna see a lot more play once Clockwork Hoplites actually are available to purchase, because they are infantry heavies, and going down to medium will change how and when they play a lot.
Yeah, it's
Is it hardened +1 on the carrier? Yeah, it sure is, because Clockwork Hoplites already have hardened 1, so playing these guys are hardened +2, and their defense 3 with phalanx to 4, that's going to be a real bitch to deal with.
yeah, it's not bad. It's very narrow, but for what it is, I mean, you're kind of building around that. So
Yeah, so this is once again like a narrow supremacy, as Mike said. So I'm probably not going to put a huge amount towards it.
No, the buff or the debuff that you have to take to get the hardened 1.
Yeah, -1 speed.
Daunting. Like, it's fine once you're already in
combat.
If you're already in combat, but at that point, I don't know. There's a lot going on there. I feel like it's just really hard to wring the value out of it. Compared to especially like infantry tactics, which is pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's straightforward and also a little more fluid. He's got some spells that really synergize well with a bunch of he's basically buffing the Clockwork Hoplites. Like all his spells basically look at buffing the Clockwork Hoplites. You can buff some things that are outside of the Clockwork Hoplites, but you can see why this is like more focused on them, and so him not having the unit he wants to buff kind of affects him a lot as well. Polomark?
Yeah. Polmark has an army of lions, so while this character's stand is on the battlefield, the regiment this character's stand is currently attached to, including any auxiliary stand and the character stand itself, adds +1 to its clash to a maximum of 4. In addition, the regiment this character stand is currently attached to gains the Tenacious special rule, and that Supremacy ability is always considered to be active.
I like this one.
Yep, solid.
It doesn't have to be drawn from the strategic stack, so it's always on. It has an offensive buff with the +1 clash, so he's going from clash 3 to 4, on top of everyone else in his regiment, so usually he's taking a block of hoplites or a clash 2 base, so they're going to 3. And then he has Tenacious to get off one of, to just automatically save a defense roll. Yeah, like, he really likes to sit in a block of hoplites and just be like, alright, they're tanky now.
Yep. It's solid. You can't go wrong with it.
Yeah, none of these Supremacy those are like super amazing. Like the Mechanist is too focused. The Arcanist is a bit slow with the strategic stack. Like right now, I like Army of Lions the most just because it's the most consistent, even if it only affects one thing. But you can just bring in a big block of hoplites with an auxiliary Minotaur Hespian to smack some people.
Yeah, it's good, but probably Aristarch is the one that you're going to be going with most of the time.
Oh, I would say, well, yeah.
The only downside to me in Army of Lions is it's just one regiment.
Yeah, while the Aristarch has some more swapping. I do remember when we talked to Carl and about his city states, and while he took the Polomark more, it's because of the warband selection was better. So that's probably why you'll see the Polomarks more, but yeah, like overall Supremacy, probably the Aristarch for its flexibility, but the Polomark is consistent all around, and it is a big buff to hoplites. And then I checked out the Eidolon and the Empanada. It's not what it's called. It's the horse guy. Like the horse guy doesn't even have a fucking Supremacy. It's like the Sand cannot be your warlord. And so it's like, okay, there, we've covered it. We did city-states unintentionally as well. I think Old Dominion and city-states maybe need a couple extra characters, maybe need to look at their supremacies and be filled out a little better. Should, like, things I want to talk about going in is, like, maybe a bit more on supremacies. I know you had thoughts, and then also, who do you think is the #1 supremacy in the game?
Yeah, I mean, so like my main thought is just that generally speaking, the always on supremacies are better than the one big turn supremacies, just because it's easier to wring value out of them.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. Yeah. In terms of who has the best, it's probably really coming down to Shock Assault or the 100 Kingdoms one.
Rapid deploy for Vanguard, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like the Tempered Sorcerer's one from Dwayne, because I feel like that'd be the next contender. But it's so limited on that Dwayne caster and like all the other shit that Dwayne fucking caster is doing that I'm like, no, the Supremacy is not carrying this character. It's everything with that Supremacy. Like it's a layering effect with Dwayne. Like Dwayne have been the cake of Conquest.
Yeah.
You get your cake and you eat it too, and it's all the different rules and abilities that are stacked on top of each other. It's not just one thing. And so Shock Assault and Rapid Deployment, they support so much out of their factions that it's a very easy thing to build around and benefit from and always gain value.
Yeah. But really, I mean, you've got so much going on during the game itself that trying to add timing correctly supremacy ability almost feels like it's just like back when the Matriarch Queen's ability was just to get -1 to all of your supremacy rolls. Like that was usually, or not supremacy, but reinforcement rolls. That was the one that I would usually take just because it's like I don't have to think about it. I just roll the dice and get the benefit.
I know the Jarls used to be really good because it gave your opponent a -1 to their I think they're reinforcement rolls. So like when they roll, instead of like, I'm gonna do it on a 2 down. Oh no, I guess it's a 1 down. Like fuck. And then you'd have, and like the old 100 Kingdoms one was you get a +1 to all your reinforcement rolls. So a Jarl Warlord and an Imperial Officer Warlord would be on the table and be like, oh, I guess we play a normal game for once.
Yeah.
Yeah, those two are like the top in the game. I do like Ola Nords, surprisingly, just because they affect their entire army, and they're pretty well rounded. There are some that are much better, but you can do well with picking any of their characters.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Old Dominion and City States might need to... a couple of them need to go back to the drawing board and have a second look, I feel. Dwag, Argent Killua, and the Hold Rare are too close to each other and need to be differentiated more. Because they're being beaten out by the Tempered Sorcerer, who's just so much better, and the Steel Shaper. What other factions we got? Spires. Oh, Spires.
To wipe it, just
start again.
Do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, start again. Maybe the only one you do keep is the High Clone Executors. The rest of them just try again. Is that it? I think we talked about them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then when we talked about like active supremacies, passive supremacies doing more. Also, when you're looking at supremacy, look at how focused it is. Like, as you can see in our discussion, is that the best ones are the ones that affect the most. While if you're taking a narrow focus one, like I'm going to use 100 Kingdoms of the Mounted Noble Lord, yes, it's very effective, but it only affects a specific regiment in your list. And yes, I can make that regiment really good, but it's only affecting that regiment in the list. And if I'm not fully focusing in on that supremacy, I'm not really gaining a ton of its benefits. And you kind of see that with the City States one from the Mechanist, who's looking at Clockwork Hoplites. Like it's going to be the same thing with that, where when the Clockwork Hoplites come out, like City States players are going to be taking Mechanists, looking at ways to buff them, and eventually they're going to find the right points, right buffs, right artifacts and equipment and all that stuff to make this Clockwork Hoplites really good, and that's going to be their focus. But once you start targeting other parts of the list, they're going to fall apart, and then it's just going to be the Hoplites, like the Clockwork Hoplites left, and you can eat them at that point. So I just want to mention that when you're looking at supremacies. And that kind of leads into why the ones that affect the most and are always on, even past death, or if you can keep the character safe for the entire game, are so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm kind of good. How about you?
Yeah, I think we've really
We really hit it hard, Jesus.
Yeah.
I can't believe we got through all of them.
Yeah.
So, closing statements. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in and listening to the BonkTable podcast. We have a Discord. What will have a link below for anyone who wants to join in and tell us why we're wrong on Supremacies. We got a YouTube channel, and hopefully Mike sends me their battle report, and I'll have that uploaded so everyone can see the first battle report from Mike. That'll be great. It means there's something I can watch on it. That'll also be in the link in the description below. I'll probably screw it. If I remember, if I remember, I'll put the link to the limited time offer if it's still available when this episode goes out. So if people want to buy those 2,000 point Nord list or the 2,000 point Wadroon list, they might be gone when this episode comes out. I don't fucking know. Fuck it.
Yep.
So yeah. Hope everyone had a good time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have a good day.